Alright. Another morning in the studio. Yeah, never fucked it with the groupie hoes. Man, what it is, your booty. Oh, I really love the pussy, but I really a freaky though. Hey. Delete some of these random bullshit emails. Check some messages. Oh, wow. Let's see what else. Alright, guys. So, what I want to do today is uh, continue to work on the ground on here. It's just like a little strip I have to do. Still working on the shadow areas for underneath the table. Then after we get most of this background done, I'll start working on the foreground. Her purse is hanging on the chair back there. I want to start adding some more highlights to that, and then work on her jeans, and then maybe the legs of the table. And then after we get the background done, work on some foreground, and then go back up top and work on the background back there some more. So it's still a good ways to go, but it's gonna be fun the entire time. It should be fun the entire time. I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna have fun. Oh, legs itching shit. Let's see if we can find. This is some coffee shop. What does this shit say? Coffee shop radio. Let's see if we can find something else. Rainy day in Tokyo, lo-fi. That Tokyo should be hot. Summer Fridays. Oh, I knew they were gonna give me a commercial. Some bitch. Alright, what is this called? Summer Fridays. The lo-fi mix. Try to start off kind of mellow. Don't want to jump right into the serious shit on a Sunday. You know, gotta let people ease into their day. Make them think everything alright. Then you smack them with that fucking reality upside their head. Like, bitch, nothing's okay. But that shit work out fine for me, you know? Now I feel good. This ain't some bad sounds, you know? Good morning. Happy Sunday. We in the studio with the art and education. You know what I'm saying? If you're here, you're already a special individual. Because all my viewers know, not a lot of people like art and education. But around these parts, that's all we do. That's all we do. A little art and education. Yeah, a little art and education. Try to spread that good vibe all across the nation. Yeah, a little art and education. Trying to spread that good vibe all across the nation. Yeah, a little art and education. Trying to spread that good vibe all across the nation. I be in the bar too hard. Whoa. All across the nation, yeah. I got that art and education, trying to spread a good vibe all across the nation. I hope you're waiting, cause you got patience. I'm not a doctor, but I can relate. And man, I'm just saying, not really rapping, I'm not really singing. I'm just dragging these words out, not complaining, just thinking about the aggravation I'm facing, the stress, man. Alleviate that shit when I get in the studio and start getting bent. Cause I give that shit a rip when I hit that fucking bong and the bubbles come up like it's singing my real song. And I just try to get along with everybody I meet, cause we are all one and underneath the sun. Cause I got that good melanin, so that shit is fun. Yo, my nose hairs is fucking killing me this morning. I just wanna, motherfuckers. Oh, this one got a long one in there, yo. Like every time I breathe in, come here, bitch. That shit just tickling the shit out of my nose. Second puberty is fucked up, yo. You go through your first puberty, you get hair, you know, you get hair on your armpits, on your legs, on your nuts and shit. Man, second puberty, you lose hair on your head, then you get hair in your ears and in your nose. That shit is weird, yo. Like, my body's changing all over again. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I'm buffering. I'm buffering because I lost Wi-Fi up here. Fucking motherfucker. Alright. That's the only thing about being on the third floor of the studio is the PlayStation is on Wi-Fi, the cell phone is on Wi-Fi, the fucking laptop is on Wi-Fi, and everything's trying to pull the Wi-Fi all the way from the goddamn first floor. So let me turn it off on my phone. I just use some data on my phone. See if I can reconnect this to the other channel on the router. The stronger signal. Shit messed up my fucking music, yo. Alright, so what we gotta do today? We gotta do a coronavirus update check, see what these fucking numbers are China giving us. South Korea is fucking hype as shit about this, yo. South Korea says they have over 100 confirmed cases of the coronavirus. Singapore has about 100 confirmed cases. Everybody feels that China isn't reporting accurate numbers of their confirmed cases, and it's some scientists are saying it's to the point where we'll never get hold of these confirmed cases. We just want to see how many people are getting tested each day. Are we testing enough people for this virus to have some type of inclination to the severity and what level the global alert should be? Because this, the American CDC is saying we're on the verge of calling this a global pandemic, just because Singapore, Thailand, South Korea, Russia, France, even I think Iraq or somebody is complaining, and it's like it's getting pretty hectic over there. And now you have all these travel bans, travel restrictions, quarantines, and it's becoming a nuisance. The Chinese economy is gradually slipping behind. The stock markets are fluctuating due to the fact that there isn't a lot of trade. And we're talking about, like, if shit just shuts down, if your local grocery store shuts down for 2 days, shit's is fucked up. If your local grocery store shuts down for 2 days, shit'll be kind of fucked up in that general area. Like, what the fuck, yo? Now, a whole country has damn near shut down for fucking 6 weeks. Damn, like, everything has shut down, but for a long time, there hasn't been a lot of manufacturing or production of goods in China. Then people don't want to fucking get shit from there because of this crazy ass coronavirus. And so there's a lot of shit this shit is impacting, yo, on an international fucking level, yo. So gonna get a coronavirus update. Definitely have to do some atheist debates. Oh, and paint. Like this shit. Oh, they made that shit short as hell, yo. Oh, I thought they was about to fade that bitch out. You have a call from the inmate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, what they do on these mixes right here, yo, they just take the bus camera and then just let you ride the fucking bus camera while you listen to the music, yo. I think that shit hot, yo. Just looking at the fucking countryside. Then you ride the bus ride through the little cities and towns and shit. My fucking comments don't be working sometimes, yo. Every day for the past week, that shit cut out, so I already know, like, in a little while, the fucking comment section probably just stop working. That shit is weird as fuck. I should have brought some fucking snacks up here. There might be some snacks up here. At least get a water, because I'm thirsty as shit already. Whoa, 78,000. Yeah, we about to break 100,000 soon. 100,000 confirmed cases of the coronavirus.
Have tested positive for the coronavirus. 18, about half of the 39 people who went on a group trip to Israel. That came out since we were last on the air. Also, Yonhap reported that 3 people, I took it as members, because I know a number of the members of this church have been diagnosed. So I took them as saying 3 members of a second church in South Korea have tested positive, and they said the church is in Busan, unrelated to Shincheonji Church in Daegu. So this is another church. 3 confirmed Busan Hot Springs Church, not related to Shincheonji. And then speaking of church, I read some more about this church, where another article said, in Chosun, said 8 people in this church had gotten it. 7, or actually maybe 7. let's see here. So this is an article from Church got confirmed with the virus. What happened here? Hang on a second. Gosh. If again, if picture freezes, just hit refresh. Thanks. Yeah, so my picture, I watch on YouTube to see what you guys are seeing. And briefly, the picture on YouTube kind of stopped. So I just hit refresh. So if you do have a problem, Report of the Week says no issues for free. Okay, with me. So that's cool. So it might have been something with my internet or something. So again, if you do have a problem with the picture, just hit refresh, and hopefully that fixes it. So anyways, this article talking about the same church, the Hot Spring Church in Busan. And this article in Chosun says, see what it says? It's kind of hard to make out. It says, 8 at the church confirmed. So it looks like there's another church different from the church in Daegu, where they have some people getting it as well. So that's something to watch out for too. Okay, so we will get a new update in 6 minutes from South Korea. New update in 6 minutes for South Korea. Again, they had 123 this morning. Total, they have 556. 556. And of the 556, 309 of the 556 are related to the Shincheonji Church of Daegu. Toasty Mike says there is no other way to control this other than isolation. Okay, so again, I'm keeping an eye out. In
really?
5 minutes, we'll have the update. If you have comments, questions, give me a shout on Twitter at Lookner. I don't really know what this is. I can't really. So, hang on a second. Max Howroot, who posts a bunch of videos about the virus, he found this video somebody named Joseph Sunny posted. Supposedly, it's of something going on involving the coronavirus in Rome.
So I wrote a phrase up here, and I already know the first thing, because I don't know, I just assumed the first thing that some people would say. So I don't know if you've seen it, but just imagine, I don't know, what you might say, or like the first little phrase that you would say, or someone you know would say, if they read this right here. I think I'm gonna have somebody else like criticize this. Wow, I don't even got any white. Don't even got any white on my fucking palette. I really need to clean this palette off. Oh, but I'm a lazy painter. I really need to wear gloves while I'm in here. But I'm a lazy painter. You know what the first thing most people would say if they see this? Just like a little common phrase. Mm, let me see. I'm not sure if that's gonna look like I want it to. Let's try it like this a little bit. Cause I've written something somewhere, yo. I tagged some shit one time. It was in like this weird, obvious spot though. Somebody else came and tagged on my shit. Nobody gives a fuck, asshole. I'm like, you just hating, bro. All that shit is, yeah. Some motherfuckers just. Wow, really? Yes, fucking really. That's why I wrote it, bitch. And then I was gonna write. What was What was Basquiat's tag? Yeah, if y'all guys don't know, like Basquiat used to tag shit too. Like before his art got really famous, he used to tag shit as Samo, Samo, and he would just have like these little quotes and phrases. I think I might put his tag on there. Mm, yeah, that shit is hot though. I swear. Oh, somebody really stole his shit though. Oh, my bad, guys. There's nothing going on the cameras right now. Oh, god damn it. Mother sucker. Move, bitch. Oh my god. Alright, so I'm just trying to look for the best same old tag. But then I seen something that says same old because there's an app for that. Like, Basquiat ain't know nothing about no fucking apps. Somebody's going around like rebranding his shit like it's theirs. I'm not trying to do that because I do want to like I like paying homage to him a lot and like putting like little pieces in my art, but you just gotta fucking know. Like if I write that same old shit, like will people know who the fuck that is? Like most people, probably not. But still, you get a taste of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be like, oh, I. Mm. I don't know which one of these. Yo, he has same old copyright. It's like the Roman numeral 3, then the uh, Greek number 4, and then it says the so-called avant-garde. That shit is hot, yo. I don't know why, but then it's this other one that says same old copyright question mark. Do I have to spell it out? Exclamation, exclamation. And he used the number two instead of the word two. Do I have to spell it out? Oh, the so-called avant-garde, or do I have to spell it out? Uh, like you say, either one I write, man, nobody won't really know that shit. Who the fuck that shit is? Anyway, man. Fuck. I think I'm gonna do I have to spell it out? Cause do I? That's why I started doing my reader series. It's like, do I gotta spell this shit out for y'all motherfuckers? Like, god damn. I really, I really do. I really do have to just spell it out, yo. Fuck it. If that's what it means.
But I can't, like, there's nothing about this that tells me what exactly is going on. Like, if you go to Joseph Sonny's page and you go down here, you see, hang on, let me just pause it. Oops, what's going on? Yeah, it says this is happening in Rome, but there's nothing. I don't know if that's Rome. If it is, I don't know if it's today or last week or 2 years ago. So, it's one of these videos. I can't really. There's no way to verify that. I'll let you know if I hear more about something going on in Rome. But right now, it's just, like a rumor. Mark Worling said he heard that NBC News reports plan to relocate. Oh yeah, Mark, we spoke about the Costa Mesa situation last night. Yeah, we did a whole segment last night on the Costa Mesa situation. I will look that up after the North-South Korea update. I will look it up and try to get an update on the Costa Mesa situation too. Thank you, Mark Worling. I appreciate it. Also, yeah, YouTube is acting weird. I apologize. It's, once in a while, whether it's a YouTube thing, I don't think it's my internet. It seems like there's some sort of YouTube issue going on. Like I'm freezing on YouTube. It's very strange. What is going on? Yeah, I hope it's working for you guys all right on YouTube. I'm having weird YouTube issues. How is your guys' YouTube stream? Is your YouTube stream okay? It might just be my internet or something weird with my
YouTube
computer
is okay,
or something.
but my PlayStation.
Once in a while, it could be a thing with my internet.
And see, that's how most YouTube streamers stream is through their laptop directly through the YouTube servers and platforms. When I stream, I don't use my laptop to stream. I use my PlayStation. So I have to go through the PlayStation network for Sony and then connect to the YouTube channel through the PlayStation network. And so like I don't normally see like YouTube issues. I normally see Sony issues on my end. My shit just like fucks up on the Sony side.
Anytime now, we should be getting a new update from South Korea. Waiting for the new update. Not out yet. And thank you, Lone Star Carper, as well. Lone Star Carper, things like R0, which is the number of cases, which is the number of people the average person gives the virus to, the death rate, those things aren't figured out yet. There's so much unknown about this. It's possible that the large majority of the cases are not even detected yet. So, yeah, it's not really known. Death rate, it's so hard to figure out because we don't know how many people with no symptoms or mild symptoms have not been detected. The people at Imperial College, Neil Ferguson's research group, they think only 5 to 10% of the cases in China and only 25% of the cases worldwide are getting detected. So, there's just so much not known about this. So, I don't really have much confidence in death rate numbers, R0 numbers at this point. You can find different estimates out there, but there's so much unknown about this that's certainly not known yet. I'm guessing estimates will probably change as more information comes in. Thank you. Thanks, Lone Star Carper, for your support, and thank you also to Ron S. As Lone Star Carper, as you say, the information coming out of China very well might be very incomplete information, and that makes it harder for researchers to figure out more about the virus. And as for your support as well. So it is now 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. Korea time. We're waiting for the new update from Korea. Again, in the morning, they had 123 cases in the morning. Yesterday,
123 cases in South Korea.
Something in the afternoon. I don't know if the afternoon number is usually less or not. We are just waiting here we're now waiting for the new number from South Korea. As soon as I have it, I will let you know. We will be taking your comments on the air as well at Bookner on Twitter. Yeah, in the morning.
That's how people feel, yo.
10 minutes later, so I've also seen
Wow, really? For real though, you really? Yes, I did.
Refresh the pages here and see what I can find. We are at 2 minutes after the hour, 5:02 a.m. 5:02 p.m. local time in South Korea. Wait. No updates yet. It'll be small. Keep promising. And we are just waiting for the update feed. It's twice a day from South Korea about their new number of cases. By the way, Joseph Kim says, Cheonji religious sect holds presser to explain their position and said they are fully cooperating with the government. This includes canceling their religious services and disinfecting their facilities. Remember, over 305 people associated with Shincheonji Church of Daegu have been infected with the virus in South Korea. Say they are cooperating with the government.
All right, I'm coming, guys.
Another update from Shincheonji. Hold on. Rashid says Shincheonji expresses deep regret that many of its followers and citizens of Korea have been infected with the virus and for having caused concern to the people. Joseph Kim says what Shincheonji says now contradicts what local media have found. Currently, the government says they have not been able to contact some 600 members of the Shincheonji Church who need to be quarantined and tested. We read a story, I think yesterday, talking about how some Shincheonji members might want to keep secret that they're in this Shincheonji. Many South Koreans consider it a cult. So, there could be people in the church who want to keep their identity in the church, who want to keep their membership in the church secret. So, might be a reason that the government's having trouble contacting people in the church. Again, South Korea. It is 5:06 p.m. We are waiting for the update from South Korea, the daily update.
South Korea's daily flu update. How many people died since yesterday? Oh, scientists saying
J1 shows
doctors,
like
hospitals,
a scene of a normal
we
broadcast, but this is Shincheonji's YouTube
have
live
17
statement
new
about
confirmed
coronavirus,
cases,
but all words of
4
the
new
statement
deaths.
are focused on their effort of blocking the virus. No special and updated plans. The church right now is doing a presser.
church is doing the what?
Shincheonji Church says they've handed over the full list of their Daegu branch members to Korea's CDC. That's from Ji-hae Lee.
And some people say this church is a cult. You're a member of the Daegu Church? Oh my God.
46 new cases. Where did they get this? Oh no, where is that from? Seen this yet? BNO says 46 new cases. Hang on. BNO has a different source than me. Posted on Yonhap yet. BNO says South Korea reports 46 cases and 1 new death. 6 new cases and bad, but it's fewer cases than yesterday. 6 new cases. Hang on a second. I haven't seen that. Hold on. Nope. It's interesting. I assume that's going to be the number. I haven't seen it where I normally look for it. But BNO is saying it's 46 new cases. That would be 169 for the day, which would actually be less than yesterday, which would be a positive development, because yesterday there were like 220 something. There it is, yes, confirmed, 46 new cases, there it is. 46 new cases. 46 new. That's true. So, again, it's not good that it's 46. However, I find it somewhat encouraging that it's not, this doesn't mean Corona-19. It's not 19 new patients. It's new patients for Corona-19. 602 total now confirmed, which means there's 46 new cases. 46 new cases, 1 additional death, which we already heard about. So 5 dead so far on 602 cases total. So again, 46 new cases is not good, but total today, it's 169 cases, and yesterday it was 220 something. So let's hope that trend continues. Tony says 20 from church. I haven't seen that yet.
I already said the same exact name, bro.
46 new cases.
You're kind of smart, homie.
ITN says,
That's what people don't realize. Like, China has been trying to colonize Africa for over a decade now. There's tons of Chinese in Africa, tons of them, that set up businesses and run shit, like have their own communities. Chinese people got Chinatowns everywhere, even in Africa. And like you said, you're telling me all these fucking Chinese people in Africa who travel back and forth to their homes, their home countries, and come back to Africa, and ain't nobody in Africa caught that shit yet? Like, man, we must be South America. Why aren't they talking about no cases in South America, like whole continents? That's 2 whole continents where it's like silence. But that shit in Australia, Europe, Canada, North America, all over China, Taiwan, all the Asian countries. But that ain't nobody in Mexico worried about that shit. South America, Africa.
Oh, hold on a second. BNO says
it's like the darker your skin is, the less you got to worry about that shit.
Has risen to 8057. up from 6039 this
I
morning.
don't know. I don't know what it is, but that's one of the. I've noticed that. I've made comments on it already on social media. Like,
we read a story before that said something like they had
something weird going on here.
I don't know if that's the accurate number, but it's also possible that they can only just test so many people per day. So I'm wondering if is that number rising? The number
And that's what they're worried about. Like I said previously, like they're just trying to see how many people can they test a day, and they're man, they can't even test enough people to even get the real numbers for this shit. I don't, you know, yo, why am I worried about it? Just because it could affect people. I know it could affect, this shit is gonna have secondhand effects on everything. Just like Chinese economy is fucked up right now due to this shit, which is gonna fuck up other shit, which is gonna indirectly and indirectly affect other people, other citizens of other countries, some type of way, yo. They gonna be some type of trickle down effect to this shit.
Thank you, Lone Star Carper.
Now they talking about goddamn with that Fukushima nuclear reactor plant that blew up all those couple years ago. Oh, that shit all we in Japan. Ain't nobody gotta worry about that shit. Man, shit, you know that fallout from that shit was hitting the west coast of America. Man, cows, all kind of crops and shit getting irradiated with that shit, man. Like, it don't matter what happens where in the world, somehow that shit be having a trickle down effect.
But so overall today, oh, hold on, here we go. 20 linked to the church.
I feel like I got a cold right now, man. I might not have enough melanin in my skin to fight this coronavirus shit,
so 20 more linked to the church.
I wish I was darker,
So
and more blacker, and more darker.
Shincheonji Church in Daegu. So again, 169 cases today. Yesterday it was around 220 something.
And my thing is, I work around, like I said, I do a lot of childcare, man. It's so hard, like, and I could do more, like, stay on emergency and take a multivitamin and all that good shit, but I don't. I just try to eat not as much junk food and sugars and shit.
Thank you, Richard. This is the confirmed case of
Keep that water in your system. Keep yourself hydrated.
So yesterday it was at
and especially just wash your hands. But man, being around these kids, man, just picking up toys and shit off the floor, it's like, fuck. Man, this shit have been in every little kid mouth around here. And these motherfuckers licking the floor, licking tables. It's like, damn, kids, what is wrong with you guys?
Just 5 days ago, there were
everything in your fucking mouth. Stop it.
Look at that. From February 11th.
Did I do that as a child? I don't remember doing that as a child.
From February 10th.
Just put that shit in your mouth,
there
like.
was one case.
My God.
From the 9th to the 15th, there was one case. Then all of a sudden, look at that.
I need another color, but
February 15th, 28. One case in 6 days, and then all of a sudden just takes off. So does it keep going up like this? I don't know. Hey, thanks for your support, by the way. Gil Chi, thank you, Gil Chi. I appreciate that. Thank you also to David Vincent.
Walking Dead tonight. Everybody got to
David says, I get
practice y'all survival skills.
How bad do you think it's going to get? The best I can say is I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. From day to day, I have no idea how bad it's going to get in a certain country or around the world. I mean,
nobody
who predicted
knows
this? Who predicted that it was going to go like this? You know, a week ago, if somebody had told you it was going to do this, you would have said, "What are you talking?" In South Korea, you would have said, "What are you talking about?" Because before 5 days ago, look at South Korea. Who predicted that this would happen? So things can happen all of a sudden. A few days ago, Iran didn't have any cases. A few days ago, I think Italy had 4 cases. Thank you, Kimberly Howard, for your support. I appreciate it, Kimberly Howard. Thank you. that's the South Korea situation, okay? And just to give you a sense of what time it is, some
I ain't about to
countries,
go to no damn
Italy
China.
time,
You know what I'm saying, man? Yo, I got my passport 2 years ago, and I've been kind of, been
10:16 a.m. in Italy. So
not,
I wonder if
I don't
we're
know.
hearing any updates
I'm really
in
not
Italy about
frustrated or
there.
feeling.
Because,
I think I feel
from Italy.
slightly
Also in
anxious.
Iran, it is
Is the best way I can put it. Like,
1:47.
I have the ability to leave the country. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel a little anxious to be able to do that shit. But like, am I in a rush? Or, but then I was like, this year I was thinking, you know what? I can just save some money, take a trip somewhere. Psych. Psych. I'm not going nowhere this year. Fuck that.
We talked earlier on the earlier stream. We talked about how
I'll stay right here. I'll chill into this shit till they get a
right now.
fucking hang on this shit.
Some soccer games.
Like you say,
We talked about that before.
there's not a lot of
Well,
reports or anything saying that
we'll see,
some people can catch this shit. But hey, I ain't taking no chances, man. My system is too westernized. You know what I'm saying? I ate Big Macs and Whoppers growing up.
Cheryl says, from what I saw on a WHO press conference about pandemics, the director doctor said that if it ended up in an underdeveloped country like Africa or some of the South American countries, that would be a reason for calling it a pandemic. Yeah, so again, I don't know what specific definition the W did this. Who predicted that it was going to go like this? A week ago, if somebody had told you it was going to do this, you would have said, what are you talking, in South Korea, you would have said, what are you talking about? Because look at, before 5 days ago, look at South Korea. Would you have predicted that this would happen? So things can happen all of a sudden. A few days ago, Iran didn't have any cases. A few days ago, I think Italy had 4 cases. Thank you, Kimberly Howard, for your support. I appreciate it, Kimberly Howard. Thank you. So that's the South Korea situation, okay? And just to give you a sense of what time it is in some other countries, Italy time, 9:16 in Italy. It's 9:16 a.m. in Italy, so I wonder if we're going to hear any updates.
This is a recording from last night, so it's not 9:16 in Italy right now.
Because,
it's
maybe we'll get a morning update from Italy.
Our daytime is,
also
is
in
their
Iran,
nighttime.
It is 11:47.
So right now it's like early evening or evening.
I'm going to take
time
some comments.
in
At
fucking
Lookner on Twitter is
Italy,
where to reach me.
China, I'm guessing. Let me pause this. Hey Siri, what time is it in Italy?
It's 1:58 p.m. in Rome, Italy.
1:58 p.m. So it's well, afternoon, but it's 8 o'clock here and it's 2 o'clock there. It's 8 a.m. here. Hey Siri, Beijing, China.
In Beijing, China mainland, it's 8:59 p.m.
It's 9 o'clock at night in China right now. So my 8 o'clock in the morning is there 9 o'clock at night. That shit's crazy.
And we talked earlier on the earlier stream, we talked about how there are a number of small cities in northern Italy in lockdown right now. They've canceled some soccer games in Italy. We talked about that before as well. So we'll see. But the number of cases, I think Italy had about 40, 50 new cases yesterday. It went up to 79.
A Carolina Reaper? Yo, I've heard about those, yo. My homeboy, yo, he know this motherfucker will make, like, he doesn't do it as a business or nothing. He just like some hobbyist. That's his thing, yo. He gets all these wild ass recipes and he makes his own recipes, but he makes fucking hot sauce. All these flavors and different levels. He the first person who told me about
Cheryl says,
Schofield scale,
WHO press
some shit.
conference
Yo, I
about
was like, what the fuck is that? He's like, that's how hot shit is, bro. It's a Schofield.
In an underdeveloped country like Africa or some of the South American countries, that would be a reason for calling it a pandemic. Yeah, so again, I don't know what specific definition the WHO uses for a pandemic. I don't know when they normally call something a pandemic. So some people have asked, do you think it'll be called a pandemic by the WHO?
I just don't know enough
about what they consider, how they define pandemic. So maybe it's something like this, but that wouldn't be the only reason. I'm sure they have a more comprehensive definition. So I'm not a good source on whether they'll call something a pandemic. I just don't know. First of all, the specific definition they use. Second of all, there are probably terms in the definition. Like, there might be a term in the definition that says, like, worldwide, but how do they normally define worldwide? So there might be specific ways they interpret words in their definition that I'm not.
We all in the same time zone.
We'll have to see.
All right, so I laid a lighter layer down with the brush. I'm gonna grab the knife.
Pandemic is, and I haven't seen anything, really specific about it.
Grab this knife. And I want to mix, oh, damn. I don't even have none of that color in there. That's fucked up. I need some, whatever color this is. It's radiant.
Pandemic does imply some kind of worldwide spread.
No.
So, I believe it's some kind of continue.
I need some radiant red. Let's get that. Radiant. Oh, this is radiant magenta. Get a little bit of that on there. Let's toss that to the side for a second. Some radiant red. I gotta eat something soon. Damn it.
Now they're claiming
I'm hungry.
18 people dead now in Iran.
18 people dead in Iran?
Significant rise.
Oh,
I think
shit.
As of yesterday, it was
So
6.
what I'm gonna do is, this is. So I'm gonna mix some of this Naples yellow.
I don't believe that's
some of this radiant red with a little bit of white.
Iranian media. Give me a sec. Let me check something out. That would be a significant.
Yo, weed farmers. So there's this burger bar place called Goodfellas, and they have this sauce that they put on the wing called the Death Wing. Literally called the Death Wing. But they have this board where if you can eat more than 4, you get your picture taken and they put you on the board and they put how many.
Al Arabiya. That's not confirmation.
No, I think it's 6. I think you have to eat 6 to get on the board.
This is interesting.
But once you get on the board, they'll put a number how many ate. Yo, I seen this one
chick.
chick.
An official news site.
She had 14.
They write about Iran. They're called Iran
Death Wings.
International.
I was like, what the fuck? But
Head of Tehran City Council.
the first
says
time I
Tehran
tried it, because I like
reported
spicy shit, y'all. I like
if
spicy food.
coronavirus
I don't order
is-
mild wings or barbecue wings or garlic wings, or when I go out, I order hot wings, yo. It's like, and then I like having the levels. Let me get some of those ghost chili hot wings and some of those fucking habanero,
So again,
picante, whatever
we have
shit,
this
yo.
unconfirmed report
But goddamn,
from Al Arabiya,
whatever the fuck they put,
Saudi-run
whatever the fuck
news
they put in that
organization
goddamn,
that
that death wing sauce,
that
yo.
there are 18 dead now
Bruh.
in Iran from the virus.
They make you
but we
sign
have
a
not
waiver
had government.
saying that if you have
We have
any
not
kind
had
of health
government confirmation of that.
complications,
By the way,
whether
yes,
it be
Al-Hadath is saying,
stroke,
Tehran
heart
mayor,
attack, or
we
if
will
you
impose
die,
a quarantine on
you
the
can't
capital if the number of corona casualties
sue
rise.
anybody. You can't
So
sue the
we
city,
have
you
multiple
can't sue the
reports
restaurant,
saying
you can't sue the owners.
Mayor or the
You
city
know, if
council,
anything happens, you
city
can't
council
sue
president
nobody.
in
You doing this at
Tehran
your
is saying
own
that
risk,
they could,
basically, is what the waiver says, and you have to sign this shit before they let you before they take your order. And then I was like, let me try one. She was like, yeah, I remember this shit good as hell. It was a Spanish lady working there. I was like, yo, I like hot shit,
So
yo.
again, right
I was
now,
like, let me
it's
try
an
one of them death
unconfirmed
wings, yo.
report about
She looked at me.
the Iranian government announcement.
She's like, you're not gonna eat that.
One outlet saying sources.
I'm like, damn, mom,
tell
what
us
you?
that 18
The fuck you
people
mean?
died.
You don't know me? How you telling me I ain't gonna eat that shit? She's like, I could just look at you and tell. She was like, you're not gonna eat that shit. I'm like, word? Alright, yo. So she was like, you know what? She said, I'll give you one for free.
So we'll have to see.
She was like, she was like, I give you one,
any
and if you-
confirmation of that.
if you eat it, it's free. I'm like,
But
alright, cool.
That would be
Man,
a big
I ate that shit.
That would be a big increase for Iran.
I see why they call it the death wing, yo. 'Cause I damn near died. So they gave me. This come to that drinking milk part. Like milk helps.
Let's see.
Yo, so the lady gave me a death wing, one chicken wing for free, right? And then charged me $2
So Iran
for a cup of
officially,
milk.
The
Man, don't you know I drank like 7
death
cups of
toll
milk?
in Iran, DNO has it as 5. I believe Iranian government is only confirmed.
I swear, yo, I almost
There was a
paid
widespread
$20 for a
report
gallon of
that
milk,
ABC
yo.
News reported yesterday is 6
For one free chicken wing.
there. But previously, the
Milk
death toll in Iran
helps.
was only 6,
Drink some
5 or
milk.
6.
Eat some bread.
So
Yo, let me
if
get
it
another
went up
cup
to
of milk,
18,
yo.
that would be
$2.
quite a jump.
I'm like, you motherfuckers, yo. Swear to God, yo,
So
these
we'll have to
motherfuckers
wait
charge
and
me
see
$2
if we
a
get any
cup.
kind of confirmation of that.
I'm
Let
mad
me
as
look
hell.
Here.
And then I was with like a couple dudes, right? And motherfucker, the one dude, I don't know, he thought I was exaggerating. I'm like, bro, this shit is
There is
fucking
nothing
painful.
in, this
It's
is,
like
Iranian state
my
news,
esophagus is
There's nothing in
hurting.
about it.
It felt like I fucking popped like some little cactus balls or something, yo. Like, that shit was not fun. I'm like, bro, I'm in fucking pain. I've never eaten something so hot that it hurts. Like, okay, like your mouth burning, but that shit normally stays in your mouth. You know, like, no, my fucking
Sean
gut
G
was on fire. My throat was on
says-
fire. I'm like, what the
And
fuck,
still
son?
hasn't
I'm like,
They're saying they're saying no contact.
I don't know.
still with
I couldn't hardly
250
breathe right
members
and
of
shit
the
for a
agency.
minute, yo. Like, that shit was crazy. That shit had me coughing. I was, yo, shit so hot, it made me cough. But then, like I say, the dude I was with, yo, this motherfucker think I'm exaggerating.
I don't know if that's the church
He was like,
saying this.
ah, nigga, that shit ain't that bad. I'm like, all right, bro, whatever. You try that shit. His dumb ass ordered one and ate that shit, yo. Well, this the thing too, like, I ate my whole fucking wing, I swallowed that shit, and I kept it down, yo. Yo, this motherfucker ate that wing, yo, and soon as he like got all the meat off the bones, yo, the shock on his face, and I'm like, yeah, I told you, fool. And then like he instantly started crying. Like, you can see he wasn't like sobbing, but Like his eyes just instantly watered, like just dripping water. I'm like, yeah, bro, I told you, bro. Yo, this dude went straight to the bathroom, yo. He was in the bathroom for like 2-3 minutes and then came back. I'm like, nigga, you just threw up. He's like, yeah, I couldn't keep that shit down. I'm like, you a bitch, nigga. At least I fucking swallowed and I ain't throw my shit up, yo. I just drank a lot of milk on top of it, but I ain't go to the bathroom and throw up. Like, you little fucking pussy. And you think I'm sitting up here exaggerating, and you had to throw that shit up. Like, you fucking pussy.
Detected with it on U.S. soil, but were not evacuated from somewhere.
Yeah, that's why I don't mind hot shit, yo. Man, I got all kind of fucking horseradishes and wasabi sauces and hot sauces in my kitchen, yo. Love shit like that, yo. I stay with a bottle of Tabasco. Gotta keep that.
All right, you are watching.
But that other shit, yo, like I said, that Death Wing shit, I do have my limits, cause I ain't built like that, man. Like you say, you just breathing, that shit hurts. When you burp, oh my god, y'all was burping fire.
Their total number now.
How the fuck am I burping fire? Like, ow. Y'all, that shit hurt me for like, I ain't gonna lie, yo, like, it took me like 2 days to recover off of one chicken wing. And I'm looking at the Death Wing board, and this little skinny ass chick up there, and you ate like 14 or 16 of them bitches. Bitch, I know you ain't got no insides. That bitch ain't got no insides, bro.
There are now 18 dead in Iran from this, which would be a big increase, but that has not been confirmed yet.
How the fuck you eat 16 of them shits?
And thank you, Jeff Coyle, for your support. Jeff thinks that this is worse because it's killing much of the same family. Now the thing is though, I don't. We've heard some like stories in media of multiple people in the same family dying, but I don't know that we've heard that many official reports of it. So, yeah, I don't know enough about the flu to know how often it kills one family. But look, so currently, experts believe that this disease has a greater fatality rate than the flu does. But the flu has affected more, has infected way more people than this virus has. So, but it's believed that this virus has a greater lethality than the flu does. However, this virus doesn't have as great a lethality as, say, SARS or MERS, but it infects people and spreads a lot more easier than SARS or MERS does.
MERS? I don't even remember that one. I remember that SARS
really
shit,
quick,
though.
Let me just mention this because a couple people have asked about it. I just want to
And then it's like,
Costa Mesa is.
after a while,
So,
the Chinese made wearing a face mask like a fashion. Now they got designer face, like doctor masks and shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh, we just wear these shits all the time. There's always some kind of outbreak over here in China.
So they got a federal judge to issue an order on Friday saying you can't move them there yet. So
MERS, I gotta look that shit up.
What's gonna happen though? Like, they still might get transferred there. See here, KCAL-9 Costa Mesa officials address growing concerns over possible transfer of 50 coronavirus patients to the city. Costa Mesa officials addressed the public today, Saturday, regarding concerns over the transfer of confirmed coronavirus patients to the city. The city officials are saying that, here's a resident saying we were shocked about it. Government planned to transfer the patients from Travis Air Force Base on Sunday or Monday.
I got an Air Force Base? Word.
surprised to learn about this.
From the Travis Air Force Base.
The largest concern for the city was the lack of information. There's not been an information flow. According to California Health and Human Services Agency,
Trying to get that texture.
says that the federal government has determined that anyone testing positive for coronavirus cannot stay at Travis Air Force Base in the Fairview Developmental Center.
Nobody stay at my Air Force Base. Y'all infected? Man, get these niggas. Yo, get them out of here. Why y'all even brought them back to the States, yo? They're citizens, sir. I don't give a fuck if they sit. I don't give a fuck if it's my grandmother. She infected with that shit. Let's send them back to China. That's their problem. Y'all want to travel so goddamn bad? Eat some bat soup in a foreign country? Now look at you.
They very well might still get
Walking dead.
It just sounds like
You a dead man walking. You know that? You know that?
Has to, it's going to have to give more information to the city and have to convince.
That's why I don't need no kind of
that they've done enough
position of authority, yo. I'll be,
but they very well
you know,
might still get moved.
insensitive. So insensitive.
Until Monday when a federal judge will hear the case.
I don't give a fuck about your plight. Sir.
Latest on that.
Nobody stays at Travis Air Force Base.
In the hearing.
I ain't gonna lie, I gotta go put some waffles in the toast. Do I have some fruit, yo? Damn, man, it's hard just to eat a waffle with syrup. You gotta have something else
Then,
to kind of hype that shit up a little bit, yo.
BNO says
Some goddamn strawberries or
17,520
something.
people have been tested, of which 602 are positive.
And I'm pretty sure I don't have any fucking fresh fruit in the house. That's a bitch. What a bitch, yo.
You know, it's possible that they just that you know, maybe around 200 cases a day is the most you might see if they have a certain limit on the amount of tests they can do every day. South Korea, by the way, that's in South Korea. To our moderators, we have in our chat room, SDG has been there moderating. Contao Creek is there right now moderating. Thank you, Contao Creek. I think I thanked Jeff Coyle. Thank you, Jeff Coyle, for your support. Thank you also to Becky Scarlett, who's moderating. Thank you to our Periscope moderators as well. Misha has been in there in the Periscope chat. Thank you, Misha. Also our Facebook and Twitch moderators too. Thank you. In Twitch we have moderators like Matthew Johnson, Idaho Star, Keisha Umarath, Callie, Smoke, Love Pugs, and others. Thank you. Angie asks a question. We get this question a lot. We're getting a package from China. Would you open it? And packages from China carry the virus. I think the answer is experts believe it's unlikely, but I believe the CDC actually has a Q&A where they directly talk about this question. I recommend the CDC site for a lot of answers to stuff about questions about the virus. Frequently asked questions and answers. Buy at risk from a package or product shipping from China. There is still a lot of unknown about the virus. In general, because of poor survivability of these coronaviruses on surfaces, there is likely a very low risk of spread from products or packaging that are shipped over.
Very low, not totally impossible, but very highly unlikely, very low, not totally impossible. Don't order shit from China.
Thanks, Mikhail Nielsen, for your support.
Concrete looking ass.
David sent me this. Give it age. I'm not familiar with this. The Overpass Music Festival. We announced the postponement to September.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I might do oh damn, where I get all that orange paint from? Hell no. Oh, when I did that.
The Overpass Music Festival is. Silverado. Look, the longer this goes on and the more it spreads, the more I think around the world you could see large group events getting canceled.
Oh yeah. Ain't nobody going on tour to China.
All right, let's try to get you some more updates here.
No Wu-Tang for you this year, homies. Sorry. Now motherfuckers talking about the Olympics too. They were supposed to host the Olympics or something. No Olympics for you.
Oh, and really quick.
Not not in 2020 with the not with the COVID-19. No sir, no sir, no sir, no sir.
Lone Star Carper asked about this. I don't think we ever mentioned this. You might have seen it in the news. There's a story. I don't want to linger on this because it was a couple days ago. Reportedly, was not told that.
Don't fuck around with that COVID-19, yo. That COVID-19 is coming for you.
Evacuated from the Japan cruise ship to the United States. And
Do I have to
14
spell it
people
out?
flying on the flights who actually had the virus. Supposedly, President Trump was upset that they
That shit
were
looking
going
like
back
some
without his
brick.
permission. Washington Post said
Looking
President Trump
at that
was furious
brick.
with senior advisors this week over the decision to allow 14 Americans who tested positive for coronavirus to return to the U.S. from Japan after being assured that infected patients would remain in quarantine overseas. Trump and the administration's task force were told last Saturday that people who had the infection would stay in Japan. So I don't know if this, according to this reporting, President Trump only learned after the
They're
fact.
paint knives or
Reportedly,
palette knives.
he claimed the decision could damage his administration's handling of Trump. Whole odd thing. Again, the basic problem here is that originally, what the people on the ship were told is if nobody's going to be on the plane who's tested positive or has symptoms. So, people on the ship, reasonable expectation that if they evacuated, they wouldn't be traveling with people who were had tested positive. Then, right before the flight, supposedly got news that 14 of the evacuees had tested positive, and the State Department overruled the CDC and let the 14 people off the plane. My guess there is I'd be interested in knowing what exactly was said and who said what, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there's some stuff we don't know.
Alright. I need to go fix something to eat. Yes and no, really. Different sizes just for different area coverage. So
Arab News.
I just use a smaller one when I need smaller spaces.
Kuwait Airways announces
you can get the same texture from a small knife.
Mashhad to evacuate more than 700 people.
Alright, so I'm gonna start up another stream, another YouTube stream actually.
Evacuating people from Iran.
So you guys can walk downstairs with me, and
they're bringing them back to Kuwait. haven't seen them. The Russian market retweeted.
All right.
I don't think we haven't heard about any new Italy cases yet. Is this true? What is this? See, I don't know if this is true either. So David Pock tweeted this. I don't. Fars News. Hold on, Fars News. Tehran schools are closed. I hadn't heard this report. This is Fars is the official news agency in Iran. All Tehran schools are closed at all levels of education tomorrow and after tomorrow. Is that for 2 days or more? This is a Nader, who's with is a RAND analyst, says, or ex-RAND analyst, fellow at FDD. He says all schools are closing in Tehran as the coronavirus becomes a major national.
Yeah, why won't this stream start? Shit. Oh, I turned my internet off up here for one.
But I had not heard that schools in Tehran were closed. Here's RFI.
All right. Double stream. Let's go downstairs.
French Public Radio. So French Public Radio says Iran closes schools after fifth coronavirus death. Iran has ordered the closure of schools and universities in 2 cities, but not Tehran. Here. Isn't that a bigger story that Tehran is closing schools? Al Jazeera shut schools. It's weird. I had the only this even says Tehran schools. Here it is. Look, it is Tehran. As a preventive measure, authorities ordered the closure of schools, universities, and other educational centers in 14 provinces, including Tehran. Okay. I haven't seen anything else yet about that report, unconfirmed report of that the death toll in Iran had gone up to 18. Here's some more about that. Isaac Kostet, who is with a site called Iran Front Page, gives news about Iran. He says Iran's health minister says one of the first 2 cases who died of coronavirus in Qom was a businessman who had indirect flights to China and had returned to Iran from a third country. Maybe, maybe in Iran they started getting it from somebody from China, or had been to China. I don't know, but it's possible. Yeah, look, here you go. Press news agency. Health minister, Chinese carriers have been a source of corona in Iran. One of the legends was a merchant in Kong who traveled to China through indirect flights. So this is the health minister claiming that it was, sounds like he's claiming, he or she was claiming it's brought to Iran through somebody who traveled through China. Give me a shout if you have comments at Lookner on Twitter. Seth Frantzman says something interesting. He says, as Iran closed schools across much of the country, only one article on how the health ministry supports giving free medical masks at state media site IRNA. Seems the media blackout continues on coronavirus in Iran. ISNA has a box on the site about the virus but not focusing on Iran. So he believes the media is intentionally not discussing the virus in Iran. It's from Seth Frantzman. Oh, here's something about testing in South Korea. South Korea has administered some 18,000 tests for the virus, much of that within the past few days, which is impressive. 17,520 have tested negative so far. An additional 8,057 tests are in progress. There is some concern about false negatives. That's from Victoria Kim. Hey, thank you, Lone Star Carper. I appreciate your support, and thank you, Lone Star Carper, for thanking the mods. Thank you also, Spirit to Spirits, for your support. I haven't heard Spirit to Spirit about the thing about Anniston, Alabama, and possible evacuees there. I'll have to look that up. Thank you, Spirit to Spirits. Jordan B. had asked, is this a pandemic? Well, again, it just depends on how you define pandemic. So if you look up pandemic on different sites, you see different definitions of it. So it depends on how you define pandemic. I understand it to be basically like it involves spreading worldwide. But I've seen different definitions of it in different places. Wikipedia says it's an epidemic disease that has spread across a large region, for instance, multiple continents or even worldwide. Pandemic is the rapid spread of infectious disease to a large number of people. So a pandemic would be, according to Wikipedia, would be the rapid spread of infectious disease over a large part of the world. Thank you to Lori McKinley and J.R. Renaud for the Facebook stars, and thank you also Timothy, Katie Murray, Nisha, default user, and Frank for the super hearts. We are bringing you the latest updates here. I'd still like to know more about that report that claimed that the Iran death toll from the virus had gone to 18, but it has not been confirmed. NHK has a report, this is Japan, woman infected with virus serves school lunches. Officials in Ibetsu City in Japan, in Hokkaido, said a woman found to be infected with the coronavirus works at a local elementary school. She is responsible for delivering school lunches to classrooms. That doesn't sound good. City official says she wasn't involved in cooking the meals. Was wearing a white robe, face mask, and gloves at work. She came to work on February 14th despite having a sore throat the day before. She stopped coming in on February 15th. That's in Japan. Actually, you see here, let's see. New corona-infected woman in her 50s serving meals for elementary school. Ishtar, do you have a link to that definition, Ishtar? Do you have a link to it?
Ishtar.
Thank you, Ishtar, for your support. I'd love to see a link to that definition,
Egyptian
Ishtar.
god?
Thank you.
I get tired of walking upstairs, yo. Oh, let me put the studio on the third floor.
Prepping also sent me something about Anniston, Alabama.
So stupid.
So this is a similar story to Costa Mesa. Anniston, Alabama, WBRC, Anniston city leaders blindsided by plan to use local FEMA facility as part of coronavirus quarantine. City leaders in Anniston said they were not prepared for the Department of Health and Human Services to use a FEMA center in Anniston to house some passengers from Diamond Princess who tested positive for coronavirus.
Yeah.
The Anniston says we were not.
I guess that's a bonus.
Try to stop it too.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I also can't tell. What I can tell is, like, in these cities, I don't know if what happens in this. I mean, is it really true that they didn't know this was going to happen? Or does what happen is, do some citizens find out about it, and all the citizens call the mayor's office and yell and scream at the mayor and saying, why is this happening? Because they're scared. And then the mayor's like, well, I got to do something about this. So I'm going to say, we need more time. And like, so I don't know. I don't know that it's the case that these cities really had no idea about this. It seems possible to me that what happened is when citizens found out, they complained about it, and the local government wants to have the citizens wants to make it look like they're defending the citizens. So maybe they'll like file a lawsuit and delay for a few days. You know, so it might feel like a political thing too. I don't know.
I'm not Russian.
Thank you, Juan Miguel Becerra, for your support. Thank you, Juan Miguel Becerra. I appreciate that. Nothing from Italy. We haven't heard anything from Italy so far. Italy right now, what is it, like 11 a.m. or something? Let's see. Italy time.
It's hard to say.
It's 9:57.
I don't really have a favorite food, Joe. I like eating,
Yesterday it was 79 cases. Now what's this?
I don't think I
Hold on.
really
This says
would prefer to
16
eat one
cases.
thing over
What is that?
anything else, Joe.
Hey, that's 2 days ago.
Um,
That's not current. I want Ansa English. I want Ansa. Here, I got it. That's not it.
I love grits though. I love grits. I love pancakes. I love waffles, crepes, all that shit, man. Oatmeal.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any new reports from Italy so far today.
Mm.
They are in Italy. You can see here. Stop work and mobility in outbreak areas. This is from ONSA. Prohibition of removal and entry into prohibition of leaving and going into the outbreak areas of the virus, which will be manned by police and, if necessary, by the military, with criminal sanctions for those who violate the prescription. So they're like locking down Italy with virus cases. Italy imposes strict lockdown with hotspots. It will be forbidden to enter or leave the outbreak areas unless special permission is granted. All school and sports activities have been suspended in those areas.
We don't put sugar in
the virus
grits, yo.
has gone beyond the isolated clusters of cases in Lombardy and Veneto, making it difficult to contain. Hey, here's a little graphic here. More deaths than SARS or MERS and way more cases than SARS or MERS. Those are 2 other coronaviruses. We'll see if there are more cases in Italy today.
No, you don't put sugar in grits. You eat seafood with your grits. Shrimp and grits, or some fish and grits. You don't need no sugar with that shit, yo. Shit need to be salty. Motherfucker with some sweet grits. You want something
Give me a
sweet,
shout if you
motherfucker? Eat some
comment,
waffles.
@Lookner on Twitter. Our viewer, MMD, says, don't know if you are aware or not only in our city, the city of Iraq, but also throughout Markazi province, all universities, dorms, schools, every class is private or state, even gyms are announced to remain closed till the end of the week for now. MMD. Yeah, we were reading an article before about how a bunch of schools and article about how like places showing movies like had been shut down, or there were like cities banning public gatherings. An article about Iran a little earlier, so yeah, it seems pretty serious there. Thank you, MMD, for writing it. So MMD talks about Iraq, A-R-A-K, he says. Kazi province.
Man, don't fuck with that sugar in the grits, yo.
Iran says 6-person dead of virus. Governor of Markazi province told IRNA positive virus.
That hit the spot. Feel like a whole man again, yo. Motherfucker be hungry, yo. You just
Iran has closed schools in Tehran.
It's a weird ass feeling.
Was talking about in 3 other provinces.
I don't like that hungry feeling, yo.
Closed down all bistros and water fountains in 6 other places.
Now I got that full feeling. I'm like a whole man.
A number of experts who believe that the number of cases is greater than 28. First of all, because Iran has been exporting cases, people are leaving Iran to somewhere else, and then they get the virus. And also,
I'm telling you.
it would just seem like if there's 60 jobs.
The food is how I determine how I fuck with people, yo.
Too low. I don't think
Mainly, if you don't put food in my refrigerator, I don't give a fuck what you say. I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't give a fuck what you do. And right now, nobody don't help me put food in my fridge, yo. Like, food is that one thing we all need. Food, water, and shelter. I'm telling you. That's how I fuck with people. You put food in my refrigerator? You fuck off then, motherfucker. Shit. I don't give a fuck. What? You don't feed me? You don't help me get fed? You don't help me get full? Pfft, shit. I give a damn what you think. I don't care about you. Now, indirectly, so you have shit like jobs and stuff like that, which does provide a means for you to secure food for your refrigerator. So you have to care about certain shit to a certain extent. But directly, I'm telling you, man, you gotta respect the food. Hey, 3 things don't fuck with. Don't fuck with a man. Money, his wife, and his food, yo. That's it, yo. Motherfucker kill you over that shit. Motherfuckers went to war over spices, salt and sugar and shit like that. I will kill you for some goddamn rosemary and thyme. Now I feel like I should smoke, but if I smoke, I'm gonna just get hungry again. Then I'm gonna have to fix something else to eat. And then the cycle continues. I need to pick up some emergency. Flood my system with some vitamin.
Mr. Moon, the president of South Korea, did not announce any specific measures about the virus.
It's getting hard for me to breathe.
The government to take steps if they want, like banning visitors to specific countries and restricting public transportation as well as locking down cities. Could do that, they just haven't done it yet. Are still free to enter and leave Daegu, where you've had a lot of the cases, where you've had many of the cases. You made most of the cases. Experts believe a lot of the cases have gone undetected, but whatever the numbers, thousands of people dead, tens of thousands at least with the virus. So thoughts with everybody around the world dealing with this. Let's hope it can get under control.
78,776 confirmed cases.
Brown, for saying thanks.
2,461 confirmed deaths from COVID-19 as of yesterday. 78,000 confirmed cases, over 2,000 deaths.
Ron Durant.
I think those are the global numbers, which is pretty scary in itself, yo. It's pretty scary. Somebody getting sick. I know there was one time I went to the fucking hospital over the flu. I ain't gonna lie. I thought I was about to die, yo. That shit hurt. It's like, oh, you have the B strand of the virus. Yeah, my temperature was like 103 degrees or some shit, yo. My fucking body. Oh my God. Never want to feel like that again. But still, I refuse to get flu shots. And since I experienced that shit one time, like I said, I had to go to the hospital. I know how bad that shit can be. If I don't feel like that, then I feel like it's not that bad. Like that level of pain was like excruciating. As long as it don't ever get that far again, like I'm good. I know how bad it can be.
All right, guys, who was Jesus and is there reason to believe in him? Aaron Ra is joining me today on the show. If you don't know who he is, you will soon. Let me know if you guys have any guests that you're interested also in bringing to the table. Email me at mythvisionpodcast@gmail.com. I'll try and find these people, contact them, and see if they're interested in doing an interview. Maybe they have books they could send me. I can get acquainted with their position and bring them on the show. Aaron Ra is going to take us into what I like to call a histomythicist position and also delve into other stuff in the Old Testament or Hebrew Scriptures, showing a lot of interesting, strange things on how they believed. You guys don't want to miss this. I really enjoyed this show. The guy is scarier looking than he really is in person. He's actually a kind guy and he's very gentlemanlike. I even teased him from the start. So hope you guys like this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know what you guys think by writing a comment down below. Peace.
Maybe, but not Jesus. Likewise, raised in American Christianity, I am not going to be able to get them to see that Hindu gods, any of them.
Krishna, no.
Yeah, so it's not like there's any one God. If there was one God that was true, damn thing goes off again. Cast.
It's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
well-
It saw a spirit walk by, and it's like, I'm just teasing. Yeah. No, I agree.
It really is that simple, and there's no middle ground here. You're either convinced or you're not, and whether you like it or not, if you can't profess a belief in God, then the A word applies. But we didn't know that back then. We were told that atheists were devil worshippers, and that if you didn't believe in the Christian God, then you were in league with Satan. I've often heard people say that if it didn't come from God, it's of the devil. And when I was a kid, everything was of the devil. Sex and drugs and anything that tasted good or felt good or made life interesting or fun, the devil did it all. So we listened to what they told us was the devil's music, and we sold our soul for rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
And that's my story. Even though I don't believe in Satan, I've been repeatedly accused of worshiping him because I was running with the devil on the highway to hell and breaking the law with no remorse. But worse than that, worse than all that, is back then, I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Not Dungeons and Dragons.
For anyone who doesn't get that joke, possibly watching on video, there was a time when the religious right went after D&D nerds, warning that if you played this game, it would get you an allegiance with Satan. And as you can imagine, the criticism that I get from Christians today seldom get past my appearance, according to their typical bigoted stereotypes and playground-level limits of wit. But they apply this same generalization to everyone. For example, this is my friend Jerry DeWitt. He was the first participant in the Clergy Project, what is now a long list of lifelong ministers who've come to realize they don't believe in all this indefensible nonsense anymore. But Jerry still believes in community and fellowship. Even if he can't pretend there's a God, there are still people And people need people, and Jerry's all about that. But anytime anyone realizes that the emperor has no clothes, then the wanna believers react by going on a witch hunt, especially in Louisiana. So a few weeks ago, Jerry started getting hate mail. And I don't know if you can read it at the top. It says that Jerry has the ability to drive away the one true God. Imagine Max von Sydow in The Exorcist saying, "The power of Jerry compels you." If I believed in God, and I believed that Jerry could drive God away, I wouldn't be sending him hate mail. But they are, and it actually says in the letter that if he doesn't allow the love of this hate mail to filter through, if he doesn't learn to love a despicable despot, everyone, or if he doesn't make believe contradictory nonsense attributed to an imaginary being, then the God's oh so mysterious work will be done by these anonymous losers in Louisiana. Because God can't do anything by himself. He's so pathetic that he needs the aid of superstitious minions who can't even write at the 8th grade level. They even told him not to go to the police. I think that may be, they suspect the police have chariots of iron. The point is that Jerry doesn't, they know Jerry doesn't believe in God or the devil. Yet they still accuse him of being a satanistic devil worshiper. And that's because the devil put all the evidence there to fool men into not believing in God, right? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the world he doesn't exist. A creationist told me that if my argument begins to make sense, it is only because the devil is talking through me, for he is the Lord of lies. Another one told me that if I didn't believe in the devil, it meant that I worshipped him. And I said, how do you figure? He said, well,
14 days.
The devil is mentioned in the Bible, and the Bible is the Word of God. So if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in God. God said, you're either with me or you're against me. So if you don't believe in God, that means that you believe in the devil. You
yeah, 14 days, that's a stretch. 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? That's a good stretch.
Said he had a dizzying intellect. And then I said, I don't believe in Daffy Duck either. Does that mean I worship him too? So if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in God. That doesn't just apply to atheists. That means that if you believe in any other God besides the Christian God, you're going to get the same treatment. I've even seen Christians refer to Muslims as atheists, because if they don't believe in their God, it's like they don't believe in any God at all. And according to Christians, every other religion is somehow guided by the devil. So, I took my kids to a Krishna temple, because I wanted them to know that there were twice as many Hindus in the world today as there are Protestant Christians. And the next day we were in some little store that was selling incense by the register. And I pointed out to my kids, hey, that's Krishna on the package. And someone else in the grocery line said, yeah, she wanted to know what we were talking about. And as soon as she realized that I was talking about another religion, she threw up her hands and said, if it ain't from Jesus, it's of the devil. And that's what her religion teaches. This is one page out of one of those ignorant and bigoted religious tracts that people stick under your windshield wipers. As you can see, it says that Satan created all of the gods of India, which is a pretty good trick, considering that Hinduism is the oldest religion in continuous practice, predating Satan and the religion he comes from.
Yeah, that's that part right
Vedic
there.
Scripture predates even the oldest books of the Bible. And the same is true of the gods of Greece, Egypt, and the Near East. There was a time when no one believed in heaven or hell, the Jewish God, or the Christian devil. Instead, many of these older religions, including the religions of ancient Israel, believed that when anyone dies, their soul would descend into the underworld of the dead. And they all seem to have the same idea. Here we see it represented by a modern interpretation of Pluto also known as Hades. Except that the Greeks didn't consider...
That's on the thing, yo. Like, why do we even need a second job? Yo, I hate that part. Man, my first job should pay me well enough where I don't need no second job. And y'all don't need to motherfucking piss test me neither. Y'all need to piss test the goddamn congressman. Even the president, Donald Trump, pill popping ass. He don't got no prescription for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Why don't y'all piss test the cops on a random basis? Piss test me, motherfucker. And pay me enough so I don't gotta go work for somebody else too. Y'all running my time up. You know what I'm saying? Y'all running my time up now. Goddamn. Yo, I went for a second job one time, yo, cause I was kind of desperate for a car. I was already working at a construction company. And I was like, shit, if I can just work like a couple hours on Friday and Saturday just to stack a little bit of extra change. Man, the first night I went, I got a job at Applebee's. I was supposed to be a waiter. Man, my first night there was a Friday night. These motherfuckers said, oh, well, our dishwasher didn't show up. So instead of putting you on the floor, we're going to put you in the kitchen and wash dishes. Man, I washed dishes for like 45 minutes. You know, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. And I walked right the fuck out, yo. I was like, bruh, I can't do this. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, yo, you said I was going to be a waiter, not a fucking busboy. He's like, well, we just need you in this position tonight. I'm like, I'm good, man. I quit, yo. He's like, I thought you needed a job. I'm like, I have a job. This was my second part-time job. I don't need this job. Like, I'm good. So I left the Applebee's, went home. I said I was trying to save up for a car at that time. So I ain't had no ride. So I called my homeboy. I was like, yo, want to go out for some hot wings and beer? He was like, yep, I'll come through and scoop you up. Man, went right back to the Applebee's. Sat right at the bar. The manager come out here, he looked at me, he was like, yo, you got some fucking nerve. I was like, yo, just don't spit in my food, homie. I don't give a fuck what you say. Just don't spit in my food. Oh yeah, he was white, and yeah, it was so, I was super petty, yo, fuck that. I'm about to go over the top with this shit, yo, fuck that. You told me, you trying to get me to wash dishes? Like, that was probably your plan the whole time, motherfucker, is get me do dishes and shit. Nah, I'm good. I don't need this job. I got a job. This was a second part-time gig. Like, I'll be back in a minute, though. In my fresh gear. Yo, let me get a Corona and order hot wings, bone in. I don't want that boneless shit, yo. Let me get the bones. Like, fuck that. Like I say, though, don't spit in my food, yo. I ain't playing with y'all. So what? I quit. Don't be mad at me. You told me one thing, and then did something else. I'm not about to play these games with y'all off the top. You about to try to handle me like a punk on day one. I'm out. Nah. Because on day 2 and day 3 and then month 4 and month 5, you still gonna try to handle me like a punk. I ain't with that shit. I'll let you know right now. Shit. You know what? You know what you should have did? You should have had one of your other staff members who's been there for a while, take one for the team. Hey, man, I know you on tables tonight, but look, we need you in the kitchen. We're going to get the new guy out here and so he can get trained up, get him some experience on the floor real quick, waiting on these tables and whatnot. You could have did that so easy. But no. Stick me on dishes? Psych. I know that's right, yo. I was a manager at Checkers for 2 years, yo. Don't fuck with people who handle your food. That's like one of the best things, yo. Don't do that. Don't piss nobody off if they gotta prepare your food for you, bro. You ever seen a movie Waiting? If you ain't never seen Waiting, watch that movie, yo. I know from experience. I managed a fast food restaurant for 2 years. Don't do it. Do not do it. Because they will fuck your food up and do something really extreme to your food. Extreme. And I done did like all kind of jobs. I was working for a cleaning service one time, yo. We was like deep cleaning restaurants after hours. Like I think we had a contract with like Outback Steakhouse and it was like those type restaurants, yo. Like the steak restaurants. So we was going in this one. I'll never forget, yo. It was the Longhorn, yo. We went up in Longhorn after they closed to go in there and like deep clean their floors in the kitchen and all that shit, yo. Mmm. I know that's right. But fuck. I forgot what I was about to say. Read the comments. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, don't fuck with people's food though. Don't fuck with people who fix your food. You seen Harold and Kumar? They plenty of examples, yo. Yeah, I cleaned my bong out the other day, yo. This shit was so clean. I'm gonna try to keep it clean now, though. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. Alright, one more bong hit, then we gotta get back to the canvas. Get some more painting done.
To be an evil overlord, he was just the ruler of the least glamorous realm. It wasn't yet a place of judgment. It didn't matter who you were or how you lived. Everyone went to the same labyrinthine underworld. Then, when the Hebrew scriptures were translated into Greek around 200 BC, the word Hades was changed to the word Sheol, and the land of the dead became the land of the evil dead.
The evil dead.
But the earliest representation of what would become the modern concept of hell.
Never tried the dabs and all that shit yet.
The ruler of this domain was believed to be
I don't know. I have like it's a weird thing for me. It's like you're kind of like altering it a little too much, and it's not even weed anymore. It's like, what have you done? What have you done to the plant? It's just like wax. Like, what is that?
I don't know. I just rather have the bud, yo. I'm almost out though. The last bud. So when this is gonna, I'll call my butt man in a couple hours. But it's like, this is so pretty, and it's like from nature. But then you want to take it and change it and do all kind of other stuff to it. It's like, why? What are you doing to it? Like, stop. That's weird. It's like so weird, yo. It's like I don't need it to be that intense. And so it's kind of like a drug. You know, I don't look at a plant as a drug. But a plant can be a medicine, but not technically a drug.
Racially biased police shootings of black men. This too is false. A study published this August in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences is just the latest research undercutting the media narrative about race and police shootings. It is the rate of violent crime. Also told that we are living through an epidemic of racially biased police shootings of black men. This too is false. A study published this August in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences is just the latest research undercutting the media narrative about race and police shootings. It is the rate of violent crime. Also told that we are living through an epidemic of racially biased police shootings of black men. This too is false. A study published this August in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences
Yeah, I had to
is
post
just
that
the
one
latest
real
research
quick, yeah.
undercutting
Yeah,
the
my
media
homie
narrative
just sent me the link,
about
yo.
race.
The Girl Scout, yo. Yes and no. I actually don't have socks on this morning. And I don't know. I don't normally wear these flaps without socks. My feet sweating hella crazy this morning. In these fucking plastic ass sandals. That was too funny though. The look the dude gave the lady after she said, "This too is false." He looked at her like, "What the fuck, bitch? Is you crazy?" Yeah, my homeboy be sending me like the funniest fucking shit, yo. My man, Chris. Yo, he put me on this other art. Yo, he be putting me up on so much shit, yo. Too funny. Ties. Yeah, I got the fucking sweaty foot. A tie. Never really thought of that one. That, my friend, is a good idea.
Goddess of darkness, gloom, and death. But she was said to be frightfully evil. But somehow her rule was overthrown by Nergal, god of war and pestilence. Through a strange set of circumstances, Nergal was born in the kingdom of the dead, and eventually raped Ereshkigal, taking her as his wife, because that's how it was done back then. Rape was a prelude to matrimony, and that's the kind of shoddy morality that found its way into the Bible. Eventually, Nergal was depicted as a judge of the dead souls, and so we have the first hints of the torment by the beast in the pit. But none of these characters are the same as Satan, the devil.
All right.
So where did this character come from? Because whenever I look at these older images, all of them contradictory, I get the impression someone just made this up. I recently posted videos from David Fitzgerald and Richard Carrier, both historians, Bible scholars, and experts on ancient mythology, and they say that Jesus never existed.
Oh yeah, socks and ties.
And last month I testified before the Texas State Board of Education to the effect that Moses evidently never existed either, that he was evidently a embellished composite of 4 older characters. And I'm afraid I have to say much the same thing about the Christian devil. For example, we know that Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies, is a New Testament bastardization of Baal-Zebul, the Lord on high, and ruler of the city of Ugarit around 1500 BC. Scholars acknowledge that this was a deliberate distortion of his name.
Yeah, socks and ties.
That happened.
I'm really thinking now. I need to,
For example, Christians like to say that Lucifer was a fallen angel. But that story is a mistaken interpretation, accidentally adapted from another culture. Isaiah 14 was not talking about Satan.
Some companies that produce
he was
shit like that.
criticizing Babylonian astrology, in which the planet Venus, also known as the morning star, played the role of a prominent pagan god named Athtar, or Helel ben Shahar. The name translates as Lucifer.
I get on top of that, guys.
Jesus was also known as
socks
Lucifer.
and ties. Socks and ties.
And one of the earliest Christian denominations were the Luciferians.
The Luciferians.
But in this case, Lucifer refers to a rebellious prince, the son of Shahar, the dawn, brother of Shali, the dusk. These are the twin sons of El. And that makes, and El is the original god of Semitic people, typically personified as the sun. And this means that Lucifer is the grandson of God. He also had dozens of uncles, none of whom were named Jesus. Oh, how you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn. The most important part of Christian theology regarding the devil is based on this one passage, and they've got the wrong guy. The problem is that Christians too often read into the Bible things that it does not say. And then they don't read what it does say. It's like they read between the lines and then don't read the lines. For example, nowhere does the Bible say that the serpent in the garden was ever supposed to be anything but a snake. Now, Christians will say that Revelations 12 refers to Satan as that old serpent. But it doesn't say it's that old serpent, not the one from the garden. Jesus referred to the Pharisees as a generation of vipers and the spawn of Satan. Does that mean they were that old serpent too? And if so, why weren't they crawling on their bellies and eating dust according to the Lord's curse?
Mm-hmm.
If the serpent in the garden was supposed to be Satan, then the Bible should say that right there in the first book of the Old Testament. But the first hint we get of that isn't until the last book of the New Testament, which was written in another time, in another place, in another language, by people of a completely different belief system. Not Christianity, not even Judaism. The fables in Genesis come to us from Mesopotamian mythos. And the serpent of the garden and many of the other elements of Genesis 3 first appear in the Epic of Gilgamesh, where Gilgamesh is walking through the sacred garden and happens across the dark maid Lilith. And she was living in the forbidden tree with a companion who was the serpent who could not be tamed. And that throws another kink in the mythology. Just as Christians today commonly assume that the serpent was supposed to be Satan, Christians in the Middle Ages often confused the serpent with Lilith. Who was she? She was Adam's
first wife,
according to Talmudic legend.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the stories is that Adam and Lilith were created simultaneously as equals. And she wanted to remain equal, and Adam wanted to dominate her. However, Lilith knew the secret name of God, and this gave her the ability to fly. And thus she escaped the Garden of Eden. And then, rumor has it that she apparently snuck back into the garden and found Adam with the younger woman, and then adopted the guise of the snake. And we think this because in virtually every rendering of that age, the serpent is depicted as a woman. This one is from a 15th century manuscript. Here's a couple more from the same period. Sometimes you only see a woman's head. And these came from all the mainstream sources at that time. Duke de Berry depicted his as a naga, half woman, half snake. Raphael did the same thing. And Hieronymus Bosch made his serpent into a lizard lady. These were religious men, these artists. These were Christians, believing Christians. But this image of the female serpent shows up in churches too. Big, important ones. Like this stone relief on the walls of Notre Dame Cathedral, and even the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo. So, this naga, this half woman, half snake, does that look like Satan to you? Clearly, the unsupported interpretations of modern Christians is not the same as that of many mainstream Christians back in the day. Now, the modern adaptation of Genesis 3 comes to us from Babylonian priests around 450 BC. Twice, it says that the serpent was created as a wild animal, and it says that he was cursed to crawl on his belly
and
all
eat
of
dust.
the days of its life.
Yeah.
So it's a mortal animal as well. Not possessed by Satan, but acting on its own accord because it was smarter than the other beasts, and that's why it was cursed. It also can't be the Lord of Lies either, because if you remember in that story, the serpent was the only one who told the truth, while God lied. And even if we combine all these unrelated fables into a single narrative, the book of Job still follows after Genesis. And Satan is said to be walking there, not crawling on his belly or eating dust.
Yo.
In fact, Satan is a servant of God.
And these are the small things that just always tick me off. Is like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So before, in previous times, the snake had legs. So a serpent, because they really don't even say snake in Genesis. Most of the time, it's just the serpent. And they don't really explain it other than when he's getting cursed and says, now you will crawl on your belly. And it's like, so he wasn't previously crawling on his belly? So wait a minute. So this motherfucking serpent can talk, and it had fucking legs. But now you're cursing the serpent to crawl on his belly and eat dust or some shit. What it said, I don't know, and bite the woman in the heel. But it's like, then later on in the Bible, there's Satan, and like you said, he's walking, and even in Revelations, when Satan just pops up on God's meeting, and it's like, God don't even know. Like, that's the thing too. Like, God don't know everything, yo. Like, that God and his angels having the meeting, then Satan pop up in that shit. And then it's like, I don't know, was they expecting him? Are they mad that he's late? Because the first thing he was like, God was like, yo, where were you at? And Satan said, I was walking to and from in the earth. He's like, oh, really? Then they busted off on some dumbass conversation. I'm like, yo, this guy don't even know where Satan is at all the time. Don't know what the fuck he be up to. But you supposed to know everything, and you made this motherfucker. You made all of us. But how come you don't know everything? Like other people say you know everything. That was one like my earliest confusion, even in the Genesis stories, when it's like God that, and I swear that's like from childhood, like it doesn't make any sense. Well, God knows everything. Well, he's calling out to Adam and Eve like he can't find them. So he obviously doesn't know everything. Like, are you guys not getting this part? And it was just always so obvious, but it's like, I don't know. People don't get it.
Shown as if they were friends who never had a falling out, which wouldn't even be possible if Satan were previously the serpent. This is also the only time when Satan ever does anything evil, and he does so only under the will of God, because he made a bet with an omniscient being. And God's only excuse for that? The devil made him do it. Other than that, what's the worst thing Satan ever did? He tried to reason with Jesus. Don't try to use reason on these people. They consider it evil. You ever try to reason with a devoutly religious person, one who thinks that God thinks he's really special and who actually hears the voice of God talking to him? This is why we are lumped together with the Satanists. God and Satan didn't have a falling out until the book of Zechariah. And there, Satan is still an agent of God and is not only standing, but standing on the right hand of the angel of God to accuse Joshua, because that's who Satan really is. Ha-Satan, the accuser. Diablos. I think Ha-Satan was the enemy, and Diablos is the accuser. And this idea is based on the Zoroastrian concept of Ahriman the opposer, also known as Angra Mainyu, and this is actually the patron deity of the Oklahoma Satanists. So, Zoroastrianism is the oldest monotheistic religion. The Persian prophet Zoroaster established this religion by at least the 6th century BC, if not earlier, prior to the development of Rabbinic Judaism. Before then, the religions of ancient Israel were previously polytheist. And according to the Jewish Encyclopedia, most scholars, Jewish as well as non-Jewish, are of the opinion that Judaism was strongly influenced by Zoroastrianism, with striking parallels apparently adapted by every Abrahamic faith thereafter, meaning that Christians and Muslims both adopted theology from the prophet of a different God. And one of the ideas to originate with Zarathustra was the notion of posthumous punishment and damnation. Righteous men would ascend to the kingdom of justice and truth under the wise Lord Ahura Mazda, while evil men would descend into the kingdom of the lie, ruled by Ahriman the opposer, also known as Ha-Satan, the Satan. And this description of the underworld was not only the first literature in all of history to reference an eternal judgment after death, but was also said to be populated by evil demons. This is not the way the Bible describes hell. This depiction comes from Dante's Inferno and subsequent works that movies and such that show the devil ruling over hell. But that's not what Christian theology says. According to Revelations, Jesus is the one crushing the unbelievers in the bloody winepress. But everyone thinks there's a devil punishing sinners in hell as if he's a prison warden working for God. But looking at this image, and every other depiction of hell from Hieronymus Bosch on down, it all strikes me as utterly pointless and stupid. No superior being would ever construct a hell nor maintain it. They wouldn't condone torment as a punishment and would not permit an eternal punishment for any reason. No God worthy of worship would allow anyone to be damned according to whether or not they believed. This is not the criteria of anything that is really real. This is required of liars who want you to believe that it's real because they want to believe it themselves. They can't maintain their own delusion if they allow you to question it, or because they can't exert force if they can't evoke fear. And a number of Christians have told me that long after they rejected their religious beliefs, they held on to this lingering fear of hell. But honestly, hell was one of the first things I gave up because it didn't make any sense. And neither did the devil. If Satan is an enemy of God, then what is his motivation? That was the first question I asked when I was a little boy and my mother first told me about Satan. Because even after listening to all the Christian excuses trying to justify this guy, he is still the most unbelievable one-dimensional character I've ever heard of. Christians have not thought this through. Just look. Do they really think there's a devil that's been around for thousands of years and he's never read that book? And it's about him? Do they really think that if there is a devil, that the devil wouldn't have to know way more about all of this than every Christian? Which makes me think, there may well be a Lord of lies, and I have the evidence to prove it. Because if there was an inherent evil, such as everyone wants to believe, it would have to gather followers in order to bring in the tithe. And it would rule with the stick and the carrot, with impossible promises that can't be fulfilled, weighed against the threat of a fate worse than death for all those who didn't believe. And heresy would be damnable too. If there was a church of evil, it would be judgmental and prohibitive, inhibiting the natural drives of all its now dysfunctional devotees, and would be manned by prejudiced and paranoid reactionaries perpetually persecuting others while pretending to be persecuted themselves. And allowing no deviation from its mandates, the Lord of Lies would strictly restrict all forms of learning. Books would be burnt, curiosity crushed, and science attacked above all. Perpetual war against every other religious denomination. And it would vanity, jealousy, vengeance, and wrath would be the monikers of an evil deity, and this is the worst ever. It would force believers to submit to unreasonable conditions. It would order crusades, initiate inquisitions, and lead villagers on witch hunts. It would protect and promote or permit child abusers and molesters seeking genital mutilation. And it would manipulate the masses only to oppress them. Each of the atrocities ordered by God in the Bible is more demonic than divine. Don't give in to the lesser of two evils. Reject both. In an educated civilization where civility is based on humanity as opposed to superstition and fear, the concepts of God and the devil are superfluous. Y'all know who this girl is? Look at this child. Is this the face of a demon? Or is this the look of a skeptic who's not buying your bullshit? The problem is, it's the same glare either way. And that's why we're lumped in together. This is the way we look when we realize we're being lied to. When you realize that all of the fables in the Bible began in the hearts of superstitious primitives who just made it up. It's man-made mythology, and there is no truth in it. There's no heaven, no hell, no Eden either, and there is no devil. He was invented by Persians, adapted by Jews, and embellished by Christians. He was never the serpent, nor a fallen angel, and he can't steal your soul because we don't have souls. Exorcism isn't real because demons aren't real, because magic isn't real. We are not cursed. We are not fallen. We have arisen, and we don't need salvation because God literally doesn't give a damn what happens after you die, because then neither of you exist. There is no goddamn devil because there is no God. Damn. You just die, and that's it. You're not immortal. You're not eternal. And to believe otherwise is to diminish everything that you really have. Life is precious because it is short, and there's nothing after it. There's no destiny, and there's no purpose beyond what you give it yourself. If you want your life to mean something, try making someone else's life meaningful. Thank you. Because regardless, whatever else you believe, history will be our judge. And stop waiting and wondering about some posthumous promise or divine damnation, and learn to live and love life.
This is the second of the talks sponsored by RDF. A few years ago, I was at a conference and taking questions at the end, and I don't usually get hostile questions except from religious people, and they're extremely easy to handle. But then I got a hostile question which was not so easy to handle. It was a very tricky and a difficult question, and I thought, who is this? It turned out to be one of those I'm an atheist but questions, which are always the most difficult to deal with. It was, of course, Lawrence Krauss. I didn't take very kindly to it at the time. We've since become the firmest of friends, and I have enormous respect for what he's doing in the field of public understanding of science, which is the field that I recently retired from professing. He is, of course, a most distinguished physicist, author of many books. He also interests himself in science generally and in the promotion of the understanding of science generally. He's recently moved to Arizona to start what I think is an extremely exciting initiative. He is Associate Director of the Beyond Center and co-director of the Cosmology Initiative and director of the New Origins Initiative at Arizona State University. So the study of origins of all kinds, right across the board, from the origin of the universe to the origin of life to the origin of everything you can think of. What an amazingly exciting initiative to get started at a university.
Why is your mic sounding so echoey, bro? Y'all need better sound, guys.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Thanks, Richard. Actually, let me just say that my friendship with Richard has been a unique one in many ways, but one that's caused me every time we're together to think about things slightly differently. I hope mutually, and a true pleasure and honor to be here. Richard asked me to talk about cosmology, and I originally I talked to Liz Cornwall, who was organizing this, and told her what I was going to talk about, and gave her several titles, and she thought they were too depressing, so she said, why don't you just make it, We're All Fucked. But I decided not to use that title. I put this quote up here. Well, I like to have quotes for people when I'm being introduced so people have something to read. But it's kind of useful, I think, because I'm going to talk about our modern picture of cosmology and how it's changed our view of the universe, the past and the future. And in some sense, how that picture is clearly remarkable, and far more remarkable than the fairy tales that are made up in most religious situations. But the key point is mystery. That's one of the things that makes science so special, I think, is that scientists love mysteries. They love not knowing. That's a key part of science. The excitement of learning about the universe. And that, again, is so different than the sterile aspect of religion, where the excitement is apparently knowing everything, although clearly knowing nothing. Now, in any case, so that's one of the reasons why I put this quote up here. But I am going to talk to you about a mystery story. So now I live in Phoenix now, and people know what these are. I used to live in Cleveland, and then I had to tell people these were stars. And this is a picture of a globular cluster, and it's a beautiful thing on a nice clear night. But what I want to talk to you about is how our picture has changed of the universe so much that the really important stuff in the universe is not the stars and galaxies, but the stuff you can't see, the mysterious stuff that dominates nature. Okay, so it's a mystery story, so let's begin. It was a dark and stormy night, and Einstein had just developed his general theory of relativity in 1916, at an interesting time, because he had developed that theory, which was the first theory of not just how objects move through space, but how space itself could expand and contract and be dynamical. A remarkable theory that told us that space curves in the presence of matter. And it was beautiful, and he kind of knew it was correct. But at the time, it disagreed with observation, which used to bother physicists in the old days. And they
used to bother us, but now.
And the observation was that the universe was static and eternal. That was the conventional wisdom in science at the time, that the universe had been around forever and would be around forever. And his theory didn't agree with that, because his theory of general relativity suffered from the same problems that Newtonian gravity suffers from. Gravity sucks.
Eddie.
It always pulls, it never pushes. And if you put stars and galaxies out there, they will not just stay there. Gravity will produce a universal attraction that will pull them together. And so he tried to figure out what to do, and he was able to change his theory slightly, consistent with the mathematical symmetries that allowed him to develop it. So I wanted to show you how he did this. So I have his equations, which is a good thing to do at 9:45 in the morning or whatever. But I do have them in a user-friendly fashion here. Okay. This is for the biologists. No, I'm just joking. So it's not completely facetious, because the left-hand side of Einstein's equations tells you about the geometry of the universe, how things are curved in the presence of the source of curvature, which in this case is the energy and momentum of the universe. So that's fine, and in fact I'm a theoretical physicist, so I have to write the actual stuff, the Greek letters. That's much more illuminating to you, I'm sure. So this was the theory that didn't work, that explained the universe we didn't live in, or so he thought. And so he was able to change it a little bit by adding an extra term to the left-hand side, which he called the cosmological term. This term on the left-hand side would produce a small repulsive force throughout empty space, so small that it wouldn't affect the Newton's laws, which of course describe beautifully, or developed, in fact, to describe the motion of the planets around the sun, and you wouldn't want to destroy that. So it's so small you'd never measure it in the solar system, but it could build up on the scale of galaxies and hold galaxies apart. And so that's how he thought he'd save his theory. Now, shortly after he introduced this term, it became clear that it was a problem. And in fact, here's a postcard I got when I was on leave once in Switzerland in Zurich, and it's from Einstein to Hermann Weyl, who's a very famous mathematical physicist. And it's in German, and some of your German is better than mine, but this basically says, it's already 1923, and he's already saying, if you get rid of a quasi-static universe, then out with the cosmological constant. Because he realized that if the universe is really expanding, which is what we now know, and I'll talk to you about how we know that, then you don't need a cosmological constant anymore. If the universe is expanding, gravity can be universally attractive and just slow the expansion. And the big question of 20th century cosmology became, is there enough gravity to stop the expansion? How will the universe end? Will it end with a bang or a whimper? Will it end with a big crunch, the reverse of the Big Bang, or will it expand forever? In fact, and that's the reason why I, as a particle physicist, got involved in cosmology, because I wanted to be the first person to know how the universe would end. It seemed like a good idea.
I just messed that
And
little
you'll
part
see
up. But
that came
it
from.
shouldn't
But
be too
anyway,
hard. You know why? Because it's fucking
so
paint.
in
I'm gonna just paint
1923,
over that shit.
Einstein
Not
said,
this,
you know,
but another
I wish
part.
I'd put it in and throw it out, but it was really not 1923, but 1929 when we really knew the universe was expanding. And this is the person who convinced us. This is someone, and I always say this, so some of you may have heard me say this before, but it's true. This guy always gives me faith in humanity. This is Edwin Hubble. And he began life as a lawyer and became an astronomer. And so there is hope. And he made many discoveries, and I think because I'm a little short of time, I won't talk about the biggest, one of the ones he made, but the biggest one he made, of course, was the discovery that the universe is in fact expanding, and it changed everything. And this is what he discovered. Now, these are not sperm, these are galaxies. These are, again for the biologists, so our galaxy is here, and when we look out, we see what he discovered was that all other galaxies are moving away from us on average. And those that are twice as far away are moving twice as fast. Those that are 3 times as far away are moving 3 times as fast, etc. And so, and we codify this saying velocity is proportional to distance. And now, what does this tell you? Okay. Well, it obviously tells you we are the center of the universe. Okay. And actually it does. And in fact, my wife reminds me of that on a daily basis. And it really means is that the universe is expanding uniformly in all directions. Now, why does this ridiculous observation that where everything's moving away from us tell us that? And I've spent a lot of time trying to think of different ways to explain this, none of which have been particularly satisfactory, but I think the only way to understand it is to get outside the universe. We're in California, it's easy to do that here, but let me do it this way. Here's a universe that's two-dimensional, and that you can stand outside of, and here's, I put the galaxies at nice uniform distances here, and again here, and you can see at a later time the universe is bigger. The galaxies are a little bit further apart. So if you were standing outside of that universe, it'd be obvious that it was expanding uniformly in all directions. Now, what would you see if you were on that universe? Well, just pick a galaxy, any galaxy, and the way we can figure out what you'd see from that galaxy is to superimpose this image on top of this one, placing this galaxy on top of itself. Okay, what do you see? You see precisely what Hubble saw. Every galaxy is moving away from this galaxy. Those that are twice as far away have moved twice the distance in the same time. Those that are 3 times as far away have moved 3 times the distance. And it doesn't matter which galaxy you're on. Everywhere you see the same thing. Everywhere you think you're the center of the universe. So, depending upon your mood, either every place is the center of the universe or no place is the center of the universe. It doesn't matter. The universe is expanding. And that really did change everything. And by the way, it had profound religious implications, at least. As some of you may know, that in response to this and other things, the Pope at the time gave an encyclical that science had proved Genesis. And the interesting person, the first person to actually show there had to be a Big Bang, was a Belgian priest who was also a physicist named Georges Lemaitre. And the really interesting thing about Lemaitre is when the Pope said that, Lemaitre wrote him a letter and said, "Stop saying that." Just really amazing for a priest, because he said this is a scientific theory. You can take it if you believe in God and believe in Genesis to validate your beliefs, but you can also take it to mean that, in fact, the laws of physics take us right back to the beginning of time without God. What you take from it depends upon your religious and metaphysical beliefs, but whatever you say, the Big Bang happened. And I think that's if we could just convince a lot of people of just that simple thing, that the universe is the way it is, whether we like it or not, I think we'd overcome a lot of problems in this country, and I have to waste far too much time on that. But anyway, okay, but this is a science talk, although I'll throw in little bits of commentary throughout, I suppose. How do we know the universe is expanding? It's such an important thing, I want to spend a few minutes on that. Well, we do by, as these two guys on the plane out there near Arizona say to one another, I love hearing that lonesome wail of the train whistle as the magnitude of the frequency of the wave changes due to the Doppler effect. Now, what they're pointing out is that when a train comes towards you, the train whistle sounds higher. When a train moves away from you, the train whistle sounds lower. And that same principle was used by Hubble and others. The same is true for light for very different reasons. So when we look at distant galaxies, if they're moving away from us, the light, which is a wave, gets stretched out. The long part of light, or the red end of the spectrum, so it's called redshifted. And galaxies are more and more redshifted the further and further they are away from us. So that's how we know their velocity. The velocity is easy. How do you know distance? That's really hard. The universe is a big place. And we don't have tape measures that are that big. We have to find a way of determining distance without actually going to a place, and that's hard. And in fact, one of the ways, well, of course, the way we do it is we use physics. We could determine the distance to the back of the room if I turned out all the lights and only one light was on and I knew it had a 100-watt light bulb by having an old-fashioned camera, which none of us have anymore, that had light meter on it. And if there were 100 watts there and I was receiving 1 watt of light here, I know how that light spreads out as 1 over the square of distance. And so I could determine by how much wattage I was receiving here, knowing the wattage of that light bulb, how far away it was. Okay? This undergraduate or high school physics exercise. The problem is the universe isn't full of 100-watt light bulbs. If it was, life would be easier. So we have to try and find the equivalent. We have to try and find what's called a standard candle. Something whose intrinsic brightness we understand, and therefore when we look at it through a telescope, we see how bright it appears through the telescope, and we work backwards to figure out how far it is. That's the hard part. That's why it's been so hard to determine the rate of expansion of the universe, because it's hard to find standard candles. This is Hubble's original data from 1929. And this is one of the reasons he was such a great scientist, because he knew to draw a straight line through this data set, which itself is already not so clear. It's not obviously the right answer. But what he found was, in fact, that velocity is proportional to distance. Okay? And the great thing is he got the answer wrong by a factor of 10, which was an embarrassment at the time. Again, I'll throw out a little commentary in it. Because if the universe were expanding this fast, you could calculate its age, and its age would be 1.5 billion years old. That was in 1929. Now, as anyone knows, if you read any of Richard's books, you would know that, well, by 1929, we already knew the Earth was older than 1.5 billion years old. And so it was embarrassing that the universe was younger than the Earth. One of the many embarrassments in cosmology that's happened over the years. And in fact, taken by some people to once again argue that science didn't know what it was doing. But the problem was, of course, he wasn't a bad astronomer, a bad scientist. The problem was trying to measure distance, because he didn't have good standard candles. And that's, as I say, been the holy grail, if you wish, of cosmology over the last century. And we now have standard candles. Here's one. I wish there was better resolution on this projector. It's a beautiful picture from the Hubble Space Telescope of a distant galaxy, far, far away and long, long ago. And there's a whole galaxy. It's about 1 billion light years away. We're looking at it as it looked 1 billion years ago. So many of those stars no longer exist. And here's an object that's just as bright as the whole center of the galaxy. You think it's a star that's near in our galaxy that just got caught in the picture frame. It's not. It's a star on the edge of that galaxy that has exploded. And exploding stars shine with a brightness of 10 billion stars. They're the brightest fireworks in the universe, supernova. And they're remarkable, and I keep having asides. Maybe I'll get to my point eventually. But this is something that I wrote a whole book about, and someone asked me yesterday why I wrote that book. Because it is the most poetic thing I know about the universe. Richard wrote a great book called what's it called? Our Ancestors? What's it called? Ancestors' Tale. Yes, I wanted to make sure I got that right. And I wrote a book that was a different Ancestors' Tale. It's called Adam. But the amazing thing is that every atom in your body came from a star that exploded. And the atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand. It really is the most poetic thing I know about physics. You are all stardust. You couldn't be here if stars hadn't exploded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution, weren't created at the beginning of time. They're created in the nuclear furnaces of stars, and the only way they can get into your body is if the stars were kind enough to explode. So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Okay? And anyway, this is great. Anyway, so the point is, the real point of the reason I showed this picture is that these objects, these exploding stars, are great standard candles. We can actually observe them. Amazingly, even though only one occurs every 100 years per galaxy, there are enough galaxies that if you put your hand up in the night away from LA and looked at a dark spot in the sky and made a hole the size of a dime, with a large enough telescope you could see 100,000 galaxies. And that means that even though stars explode once every 100 years per galaxy, in that little region with 100,000 galaxies, on a given night you'll see 10 stars explode. The universe is huge and old, and rare things happen all the time, including life. And so it's an amazing thing. And we can observe stars exploding, we can measure their brightness, we can measure their colors, and that has allowed us to produce a great standard candle. And after 75 years, we now can determine the expansion rate of the universe. This is a new Hubble diagram, much better than Hubble's. It was made after the discovery that on a log plot everything is a straight line. But even still, we now know the rate of expansion of the universe to 10%, not a factor of 10. And we therefore, in fact, we now know the age of the universe through other things extremely accurately, to almost 4 decimal places. 13.72 billion years is the age of the universe. It's amazing that we can say that with a straight face and have scientific reasons to support that. Okay, great. So let's go back to Einstein. Einstein had this cosmological term. He said, with my biggest blunder, I want to throw it out, get rid of it. But the problem is you can't get rid of it so easily. Because using the miracle of modern mathematics, you can rewrite that equation. And now this is a small step for a mathematician, but a giant leap for a physicist. Not because it's that hard to put this term over there, and most of us could do that, but because it now represents something very different when it's on this side of the equations. Here it was somehow a geometric quantity. When it's here, it looks like a new contribution of the energy and momentum of the universe. What could contribute a term like this? And we know the answer. Nothing. By nothing, I don't mean nothing, I mean nothing. If you take empty space, and that means get rid of all the particles, all the radiation, absolutely everything, so there's nothing there. If that nothing weighs something, then it contributes a term like this. Now, that sounds ridiculous. Why should nothing weigh something? Nothing is nothing. The answer is nothing isn't nothing anymore in physics. Because of the laws of quantum mechanics and special relativity, on extremely small scales, nothing is really a boiling, bubbling brew of virtual particles that are popping in and out of existence in a time scale so short you can't see them. Now again, that sounds like philosophy, like counting the number of angels on the head of a pin, or religion, or something useless. I shouldn't say, Dan Dennett is here, I shouldn't say philosophy is useless. But, anyway, he's also a friend. But the point is, we can't measure virtual particles directly, but we can measure their effects indirectly. And in fact, they're responsible for the best predictions in physics. Here, by the way, is actually an animation that was shown at the Nobel Prize ceremonies about 5 years ago by a friend of mine who happened to win the Nobel Prize for developing the theory that produced this. This is the space inside of a proton, the empty space inside of a proton. Not where the quarks are, but the empty space between the quarks. And this is an animation, but it's an exact animation coming from physical calculations. This is what the space looks like. Now, how do we know that? Well, there are a lot of reasons, but one of the things it turns out most of the mass of the proton comes not from the quarks within a proton, but from the empty space between the quarks. These fields popping in and out of existence produce about 90% of the mass of a proton. And since protons and neutrons are the dominant stuff in your body, the empty space is responsible for 90% of your mass. So these empty space is vital to science, and these calculations are vital to understanding not just protons, but electrons and atoms, and produce the best comparisons, and I will repeat this, the best comparisons between theory and experiment in all of science. To 10 decimal places in quantum electrodynamics, using these calculations, we can get the right answer. It's amazing. So, if that's the case, let's calculate the energy of nothing where there's nothing else. And when we do that, we come up with a calculation which is pretty bad. It's the worst prediction in all of physics. We calculate, you can't even see it, I think, there's a 1 at the end of that. We calculate that the energy of empty space is a gazillion times the energy of everything we see. That, as I say, is the worst prediction in all of physics, which is why we didn't talk about it for a long time. We calculate that empty space should have an energy of 120 orders of magnitude more than galaxies and stars and people and aliens and all the rest. And if that were the case, we just wouldn't be here. So we knew something was wrong with this calculation. It's been around since I was a graduate student. And we knew what the answer was. Theorists always know the answer. They're just sometimes right. We knew the answer was 0, because it's the only sensible answer. Because, you know, you can't cancel a big number like this. Let's say the energy of empty space was comparable to the energy of everything we see. Well, we'd have to cancel this big number to 120 decimal places and leave a finite answer in the 121st decimal place. No one knows how to do that in science. But 0 is a number we can get beautifully in science. We use mathematical symmetries. Things cancel, equal and opposite things cancel all the time in science because of symmetries of nature. So we knew the answer. We didn't know what the symmetry was, but we knew the answer was 0. And we could go to bed at night and that was fine. But you know, the neat thing about cosmology is it's really a science. And science is empirical. Knowing the answer means nothing. Testing your knowledge means everything. And so the question is, we should test what the energy of empty space is. And how can we do that? Well, we weigh the universe. How do we do that? We stand on the shoulders of giants. This is a picture I took in an island off Sweden, which used to be an island off Denmark now, which used to be an island off Sweden. It's the island of Ven. I think I said that right. And this guy, if you look carefully, he doesn't have the end of his nose. His name is Tycho Brahe. And he, as many of you know, laid the basis for Newton's law of gravity by doing nothing other than spending 20 years on his back, a noble tradition, in this case, looking up at the sky without a telescope, measuring the positions of the planets around the sun. And then he was a crummy feudal lord. He got kicked off that island. He gave the data, went to Prague, gave the data to a hapless assistant named Johannes Kepler, who again spent 20 years without a Macintosh trying to interpret the data, and fudged it, we now know, and came up with, of course, Kepler's laws, which led to Newtonian gravity. And the point is, we can use gravity to weigh the universe, including the weight of empty space. Now, why do we care? The reason I got into cosmology. General relativity tells us that space is curved, and therefore the universe can be in one of 3 different geometries: open, closed, or flat. Now, I can't draw pictures of 3-dimensional curved universes very well, so here are pictures of 2-dimensional curved universes. This is a closed universe, a sphere, a surface of a sphere at 2 dimensions. But if we had a closed 3-dimensional universe, it's very simple. It'd be very similar. If our universe was closed, we would look. If we looked far enough in that direction, we would see the back of our heads. Light would go around the universe. And an open universe would be infinite in spatial extent, as would a flat universe. And that sounds really nice, but it's irrelevant. The really important thing is, in a universe full of matter, a closed universe will expand and stop and then recollapse in a big bang, in a big crunch, the reverse of the Big Bang. An open universe will expand forever, and a flat universe will expand and slow down but never quite stop. And that's why we wanted to know which universe we live in. And as I say, that's why I wanted to learn about it, because once I knew which universe we lived in, I would know how the universe ended. Okay? And so, weighing the universe tells us what the curvature of the universe is, and that's why we want to weigh it. So here I want to just show you in the next few minutes how, in fact, some of the most remarkable developments in cosmology, and then tell you how they completely changed our picture of the universe so that we understand that the universe we live in is the worst of all possible universes to live in. Okay, just so you know where we're heading. This is a cluster of galaxies. Each dot in this picture is a galaxy. Again, amazing to think about. Remarkable. Every one of these galaxies contains hundreds of billions of stars, and perhaps civilizations, some civilizations that are mired in religious gunk, other civilizations that have moved beyond, and other civilizations that are long dead. Because this is about 3 billion light years away. 3 billion years ago is when that picture was taken, basically. Now, clusters of galaxies are the biggest bound objects in the universe, so if we can weigh them, we can weigh all the mass in the universe, and we can weigh them now. We can weigh them by using general relativity. Because in this picture is a remarkable phenomena that Einstein first predicted in 1937, though he said it would never be observed. He underestimated observers. If you look at this picture, you'll see these blue things, these weird blue things. That is a phenomenon that we now understand as gravitational lensing. Einstein told us that a mass will curve space around it. And he realized, therefore, if you had a big enough mass and you have a source of light behind that mass, the light can bend around that object and come back and be magnified, just like my glasses magnify things. Or, like a cut glass goblet, if you look through it, I see many images of this room. Mass can act like a lens and magnify things and split images, and that's precisely what we're seeing. All of these blue things are different images of a single galaxy located about 3 billion light years behind this cluster. Gravity is magnifying the image, distorting it, and bending it. Remarkable. Truly remarkable. But because we understand general relativity, we can work backwards and figure out how much mass must be in that system and where it is in order to produce that image. We can weigh the system using general relativity. And when we do that, here's an inversion by Tony Tyson, who's now up in Davis. This is the system, and the spikes are where, this is where the mass is in this system. The spikes are where the galaxies are. But you notice most of the mass in this whole system of clusters of galaxies is not where the galaxies are. It's between the galaxies. It's where nothing is shining. About 50 times as much mass in this system, and in all systems we can measure, comes from stuff that doesn't shine. And physicists, with their linguistic perspicacity, have called it dark matter. And we now understand that 90% of the mass of galaxies and clusters, including our own Milky Way galaxy, is made of stuff that doesn't shine. And that isn't maybe that exciting, because there's lots of things that don't shine. You don't shine if I turn the lights out. Well, those of you from Los Alamos might, but the rest of you don't. But so it could be snowballs or planets or boring stuff, but it can't be. Because for reasons I don't have time to explain, we know how many protons and neutrons there are in the universe. We can actually measure that. And there aren't enough to make up all this dark matter. So we are pretty convinced that that dark matter is a new type of elementary particle. Something that doesn't normally exist on Earth. And the great thing about that is that means the dark matter isn't just out there, it's in this room. As you doze off, it's early in the morning during this lecture. It's going right through your body. And that means we can do experiments here on Earth to look for it, which is remarkable. And in fact, I think, I'll show you an experiment in a second. But by measuring the mass of these systems and this dark matter, taking normal matter plus dark matter and weighing it, we now have determined how much stuff there is in the universe. When physicists have an important number, they give it a Greek letter all the time. So we call it omega. Omega is the ratio of the total amount of stuff we know is in the universe divided by the amount of stuff you need to make a flat universe, the boundary between an open and closed universe. If it's less than 1, the universe is open. If it's greater than 1, the universe is closed. And we have now measured unambiguously that there's only 30% of the amount of material in the universe, including dark matter, to make the universe flat. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second, but I just want to show you that we actually do things in physics. This is an experiment to look for dark matter. It's a boule of germanium. And there are experiments like this all around the world, in mines, deep underground, because you want to shield out cosmic rays, because there are lots of them going through your body right now. You want to only see the dark matter, and the dark matter particles on average will go right through the Earth, we think, because they don't interact strongly. And most of the time right through this detector, but every now and then one of them will bounce off an atom, the nucleus of an atom of germanium. Heating, and the first thing we do is we cool this thing down to 1/1000th of a degree above absolute zero, which can easily be done nowadays. And if one of these dark matter particles bounces off this nucleus of an atom, it'll heat the whole thing up by 1/1000th of a degree. And we can measure that. And there are experiments here in South Dakota and in Europe, all over the world, looking for dark matter. We haven't found it yet. The other exciting possibility, which I should really indicate, which is one of the reasons people are very excited this year, is we may not have to wait for the universe to give us dark matter. The Large Hadron Collider, which is turning on this next month in Geneva, before it creates a black hole that will kill us all, is we think actually might, by recreating the early conditions of the early universe, create the very particles which were last created at the beginning of time. So we may first see the dark matter by creating it in Geneva. It's a race. Okay, but to go back to this number here, problematic number. We now know the universe has only 1/3 the amount of matter to make it flat. The problem is that theorists like me knew the answer. The universe must be flat. Why? Well, there are two reasons. There's the one I normally say, which is it's the only mathematically beautiful universe, which is true. But there's another reason I don't usually talk about, but I'll talk about here. It turns out that in a flat universe, the total energy of the universe is precisely zero. Because gravity can have negative energy. So the negative energy of gravity balances out the positive energy of matter. What's so beautiful about a universe with total energy zero? Well, only such a universe can begin from nothing. And that is remarkable. Because the laws of physics allow a universe to begin from nothing. You don't need a deity. You have nothing, zero total energy, and quantum fluctuations can produce a universe. So if the universe isn't flat, we're worried, because then you've got energy at the bigger beginning of time. So that was another reason that people like me were pretty sure the universe was flat. But the damn observers came up with the wrong number. Well, this is a really crummy way to measure the curvature of the universe. Why don't we measure it using geometry directly? So we can measure the curvature of the universe. And to do that, I want to ask you, how would you measure the curvature of the Earth if you couldn't go outside the Earth and see it from a satellite? Or you couldn't go around it? Very simple. You draw a triangle, and you ask a European high school student, what's the sum of the angles in a triangle? And they'll tell you 180 degrees, but you say, that's fine, you learned your geometry from Euclid. But on a curved surface, it's very different. On the surface of the Earth, I can draw a triangle that's very different. I can go along the equator, I can make a right angle, go up to the North Pole, make another right angle, and come back to the equator. And I have a triangle with 3 right angles. 3 times 90 is 270. So if I made a big enough triangle on the surface of the Earth, I could measure the curvature of the Earth. I wouldn't have to go around it. Now it turns out, even though this is a 2-dimensional picture, the same is true for a 3-dimensional curved universe. If I had a big enough triangle, and I measured the angles in a triangle, I could measure the curvature of space. And we've been able, in the last decade, to find a big enough triangle. And I want to spend 5 minutes telling you about that. Because it's the most important, probably, observation in all of cosmology. The observation of the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang. One of the many reasons we know the Big Bang actually happened. What do? When we look out at space, we look at galaxies that were, say, 1 billion light years away, and they're 1 billion years ago. But if we know that the universe is 14 or 13.72 billion years old, if we look far enough, we should see the Big Bang, right? Well, we can't see all the way to the Big Bang, because between us and the Big Bang, there's a wall. So like this wall here. Not really hard like that, but the fact the wall is opaque means I can't see past it. If I go looking back in the universe, it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and at a time when it was 100,000 years old, the temperature of the universe was 3,000 degrees. Slightly warmer than Phoenix this week. And at that temperature, the radiation is hot enough to break apart atoms, hydrogen in particular, and break it apart so the protons and electrons are separated. You have a charged plasma, and a plasma is opaque to radiation. So we can't see back past this time, simply because the universe is opaque. But that's okay. The reason I can see that wall is that light bounces from those lights there off the atoms on the surface of that wall, is re-radiated, but the air is transparent, so I can see all the way to the wall. If we run this film forward, as the universe is opaque, 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 and then it becomes neutral, the atoms, protons capture electrons, neutral matter is transparent to radiation like this, and that means I can see all the way back to that radiation coming at that surface. A prediction of the Big Bang is there should be radiation coming at me from all directions, coming from that surface called the last scattering surface. It was 3,000 degrees then, it's 3 degrees now, and it was the radiation that was discovered by accident in New Jersey, of all places, by 2 people who didn't know what the hell they were doing. And they won the Nobel Prize anyway. because they discovered the afterglow of the Big Bang. Actually, another aside, I can't help this because this is amazing, and if you ever want to convince skeptics, you won't ever convince people of this who don't believe it anyway, but you've all seen this radiation. At least those of you who are old enough to be as old as me, before cable TV. Remember when the TV stations used to end? And then to be static? 1% of the static on your TV screen is radiation from the cosmic microwave background. So you've all seen it. Okay? But it's amazing, we didn't even know about it until 1965. Okay? It was, in fact, it had been predicted by people like George Gamow, but people have forgotten that. In any case, as interesting as that history is, on this surface is a very important scale, 1 degree. Why 1 degree? Because that represents a distance of 100,000 light years. Now, the surface existed when the universe was 100,000 years old, and Einstein tells us no information can propagate faster than light. So that means nothing that happened over here at that time could ever affect anything that happens over here. But more importantly, if I have a lump of matter that's this big, it knows it's a lump of matter, so it starts to collapse. But if I have a lump of matter that's this big across at that time, it doesn't even know it's a lump, because gravity can't have traveled across it. So it's like Wile E. Coyote in those cartoons when he goes off the cliff. He waits a while before he collapses. Okay? And such large lumps won't collapse. So the biggest lumps that can have collapsed at that time will be 1 degree across. And that gives us a cosmic triangle. Because we have a ruler that's 100,000 light years across, the size of the largest lumps, a known distance away from us, and in a flat universe, light rays travel in straight lines, and we can calculate the angle on our eye subtended by a 100,000 light year across ruler at that distance. It's 1 degree. In an open universe, light rays diverge as you go back in time, and the whole thing might be half a degree. The ruler will look smaller. In a closed universe, light rays converge as you go back in time. The ruler will look bigger. So we just have to look at that microwave surface, try and measure the lumps, and see how they 1 degree, half a degree, or 2 degrees. We've been able to do that in the last decade. This was the first experiment that did it. It was called the Boomerang experiment in Antarctica. It was a balloon, took this microwave radiometer above the Earth's surface to look at this radiation, take a picture of it, and this balloon went around the world, which is easy to do in Antarctica, okay? And it took a picture. It's really easy in the South Pole. You just do this. But anyway, and this is the image. Well, this is a false color image of that. I put it, superimposed it on the original image. This is the image of the microwave background, the hot spots and cold spots in the microwave background. And these are the lumps in the early universe. And the question is, how big are they? And here's a different false color image of the same region. And we can compare this with universes we create on computers. Here's a closed universe where the lumps are bigger. They should be this big across. If they're 100,000 light years across, they should look that big. Well, that's bigger than these lumps. Here's an open universe, and you can't see the resolution of the screen isn't that good, but the average size lump is about that big. Smaller than these lumps. But just like Goldilocks, in a flat universe, it's just right. In fact, it's right now, we know, to an accuracy of better than 1%. The universe is flat. It has zero total energy, and it could have begun from nothing. And I've written a piece, although of course I got a lot of hate mail, saying that in my mind this answers this crazy question that religious people always keep throwing out, which is, why is there something rather than nothing? The answer is there had to be. If you have nothing in quantum mechanics, you'll always get something. It's that simple. It doesn't convince any of those people, but it's true. Now, great, we know the universe is flat. But if you've been awake, you realize, 10 minutes ago I proved the universe was open. There's only 30% of the stuff in the universe needed to make it flat. Where's that other 70%? Well, if you put energy in empty space, so empty space weighs something, you wouldn't see it. It's the empty space between the galaxies. You're far away from the galaxies, you wouldn't see it. But what would that empty space do if you put energy in it? Well, it produces a cosmological constant. That would cause the expansion of the universe not to slow down over time, as any sensible universe should do, but to speed up over time. In 1998, people measuring these supernovae at large distances to measure the Hubble diagram tried to see what was happening at large distances to see if the universe was slowing. Well, they all knew the universe was slowing down. They wanted to measure how much. This doesn't look like much, but it was a revolution in cosmology. I can draw a straight line through that data set there and bring the whole thing down and make it horizontal. And if the universe was slowing down, these distant supernovae should have followed this curve. Much to the surprise of the observers, the supernovae lay above the straight line. And the only way to explain this, well, there's two ways. Either the data's wrong, which it usually is, or the universe is accelerating, speeding up. And if just for fun one believed it was speeding up and asked how much energy would you have to put in empty space to make it speed up by the amount we measure it, it's exactly the amount we are missing. Everything holds together. Our new picture of cosmology is that we live in a universe dominated by nothing. The largest energy in the universe, 70% of the energy in the universe, resides in empty space. And we don't have the slightest idea why it's there. Now, that's what I just said. Let me also put an aside before I get on to the rest in the last 5 minutes of the talk. This completes, in some sense, the ultimate Copernican principle. Copernicus told us we didn't live in any place special. We now know two things. Well, one thing. I'll tell you the second one in a second. This tells us that we are more insignificant than we ever imagined. If you take the universe, everything we see, stars and galaxies and clusters, everything we see, if you get rid of it, the universe is essentially the same. We constitute a 1% bit of pollution in a universe that's 30% dark matter and 70% dark energy. We are completely irrelevant. Why such a universe in which we're so irrelevant would be made for us is beyond me. Okay, good. Now I want a little bit of applause. Now we can go back to the science. What I really want to spend in the last few minutes is telling you is how it's changed our picture of the future. In science and the picture of the universe. It has changed our picture of the future completely. And I'm going to rush through this, so let me give you the short answer first. Kurt Vonnegut is claimed as having said this at a private girls' school when he gave a commencement address. I've given 2 commencement addresses, and I've never had the guts to say it, but I'd love to. He said, things are going to get unimaginably worse, and they're never, ever going to get better again. This was before the Bush administration, too, in fact. But that's our understanding of the universe. I want to tell you about it briefly. I want to tell you about a few things that you'll hear about, and some of the things that creationists and intelligent design people promote as arguing somehow that there's design in the universe. This is one of them, and I want to explain to you why it has nothing to do with design. It is weird and strange that we live in a universe that looks like we do, because this is a brief history of time. This is the density of matter as the universe expands. It goes down as 1 over the volume. But it turns out the energy density of empty space remains constant as the universe expands. And we live today, right here, when the energy density of empty space is 3 times bigger than the energy density of matter. But when you look at this has driven physicists crazy. Because this is the only time in the history of the universe when these two numbers are about the same. At all earlier times, the density of matter was much greater. At all later times, the density of empty space will be much greater. Why do we live at this special time in the history of the universe? Well, one of the answers that's been given is that these things exist, galaxies. Why? Well, let's go back to this picture, and let's pretend the energy of empty space were 50 times bigger. Then these two curves would cross, not now, but then. Well, when is then in this case? Then is the time when galaxies first formed. But if the energy of empty space was bigger than the energy density of matter when galaxies first formed, then the repulsive force would be greater than the attractive force. Galaxies would never have formed. Well, if galaxies never formed, then maybe this is telling us something. And this has produced something that I call anthropic mania. If there are many different universes, physicists have argued, and the energy of empty space can vary in each one, then only in those in which it's not much greater than what we measure today will galaxies form. Okay? But then, only then will stars and planets form, and only then will astronomers form. So the universe is the way it is because astronomers are here to measure it. Now, it not only sounds ridiculous, but it also sounds religious. And some people have said the universe is fine-tuned. If it were any different, then we wouldn't be here. God clearly created the universe to be for us. Now, that's nonsense. And it's nonsense for the same reason that you learn so beautifully in Richard's books. Why can bees tell the colors of flowers? So they can find them. Not because God intended them to do it, but if they couldn't find the flowers, they wouldn't get the stuff they needed to eat, and they wouldn't be around. It's natural selection. And what Riss is really telling us is kind of the cosmic natural selection. Because all it's saying, if it's true, is that it's not too surprising that we find ourselves living in a universe that allows life. Because in universes that don't allow life, we wouldn't be here. It's that simple. So if you wish, it's a kind of cosmic evolution. Or cosmic natural selection is a better way of thinking about it. Now, as pretty as that is, I think it's wrong. It's ugly.
I'm about to get out of here. I feel like playing video games, but I'm sleepy as fuck too. I might just take me a fucking nap, yo. What time is it? Yeah, shit, I've been up since like 5 this morning. I don't know, man. I might hop on the game for a minute. I'll catch y'all downstairs. Peace.